Shall we start, sir?
Yeah, we'll start. So, want to stop your presentation so that I can show my presentation, or you want to start off?
Yes, sir. We will start, sir, with a brief introduction, and then we will hand over the session to you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to one and all present here. Welcome to day 2 afternoon session of National Conference on Contemporary Mathematics and Application. Now we have eminent speaker, Mr. Swaminathan sir, with us. As all know, in today's technology, especially in the field of computer world, security is a key feature. So everyone is looking for security, especially IoT is a thing what we need today. So sir is going to deliver the topic on cyber security in Internet of Things. So to give the brief introduction about Mr. D. Swaminathan, is a principal consultant, ISO cyber specialist, FSE, UAE. Sir is having extensive experience in information security and information technology. In governance and strategy, sir has been the assessment in FIN Origin, review and KT for BCP DR project, and develop target strategy for Saudi Arab Bank. And sir has established InfoSec practice for many organizations. And then sir has led InfoSec practice for a large MNC organization for multiple countries. And then sir has championed ISO 27001 implementation certification for many organizations in multi-geo. And sir has implemented process based on ISO 20000. And then in risk management and mitigation, sir has led a team to conduct risk management for a large FMCG company, Oman Muscat, and designed a BC and a DR plans, conducted a forensic analysis and fraud investigation, designed, performed, and monitored periodic VA and incident management at enterprise level. And sir has led various types of BCP DR tests, including DR site at Singapore and a few locations in Philippines. And then as an audit and then assurance, sir is a reviewer for ISO 27001 controls for various government entities at Abu Dhabi and Bahrain. And sir has been the review for BCMS DR controls at Satellite Control Origin and Environment Control Origin, Abu Dhabi, Saudi. And sir has conducted InfoSec audit based on ISO 27001 controls, ISMS, GLBA, DPA, SAS 70 and SYX controls at India and Middle East countries. And sir has conducted audits in incident capacity, problem change, asset availability and management. And then to mention specialties, sir has been the information security governance framework, and then ISO 27001 championing and training, vulnerability assessment and risk management, BCP DR planning and testing, developing security architectures, AD firewall router, ASA IDS management, application security, and then incident management and forensics. So we welcome you, sir. On behalf of PG and Research Department of Mathematics, Dwarakadas Govardhanas Vaishnav College, and then Mathematics Computer Application Department, and then the topic on cyber security and IoT. So now stage is yours, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for the introduction. I will share my screen now. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Swaminathan, as it has been introduced. So I will be conducting this session for next probably 55 minutes on Internet of Things, IoT, and the cyber security related activities in that. So cyber security is one of the important topics on the current day's world, and this has been affecting every one of us and every individual or the organization, whether it is or the industrial establishments or medical professionals and everyone, and more into the more so when people are having some wearables, like you have a wearable such as a pacemaker or a wearable glasses or something implanted on the human body. So this is all the more this is dangerous in case somebody is going to hack into your device, and so that they can manipulate the settings, and it would probably cause harm, rather fatal injuries to the person itself. And this is one of the most important things that is people are concerned about. And about a brief introduction about myself, which has been already given, a long introduction has been given about me, but I've been working in this line for longer years, and I also have quite a bit of experience and certifications in this line. So this topic would be covering about a brief introduction about what is IoT, and what IoT platform is all about, and what IoT security issues or attacks and vulnerabilities and IoT. Then meeting what the challenge and how this has been countered by various standards or various mitigation solutions. So this is going to be not a problem defining a session, but it is also going to be leading to a session wherein you are going to have some solution as well that is going to be there, though the solution has not been completely defined for IoT platform as of now. So I'm not using the PowerPoint presentation. I'm using a PDF presentation. So the flipping would be a little bit erratic. I'll just control it. Okay. First and foremost, what is IoT? What is Internet of Things? What is Internet of Things is like any global infrastructure for information society, enabling with various a series of interconnected, or whether it's a physical device or a virtual device, or that is called things. They say things. There is maybe we can say there could be a device or it could be anything. And based on the existing and evolving interoperable information and communication technologies, it should be interoperable as well as it should be able to communicate between various devices, systems, applications, etc., etc. So this is a brief definition given by ITU, and let us try to understand some more on this and the definition portion. Thing, what is the Internet of Things? What do you mean by thing? Thing, it is an object of a physical thing or a virtual thing. It could be like, physical means it could be a pacemaker, or it could be even an Alexa voice controlled device, or it could be a sensor collecting the speed of a vehicle, or it could be a sensor that is acting on a collection of some weather data, etc. Or it's a virtual thing. Something would be on the cloud, and something would be even a virtual system, or could also be enabled as a thing, and which is capable of being identified and integrated into communication network. A physical thing that need to be included into or connected to a communication device or communication network. It could be a Wi-Fi device, or it could be a cloud platform, or it could be a backend data server, or it could be any device or communication network it should be able to be connected to. That's what is called a thing. A device is a piece of equipment with the communication capabilities of sensing and actuation, data capture, data storage, and data processing. So this is a comprehensive part of the whole thing. Like a thing, while thing is about a small functioning of one activity, is just doing it, but a device could be a completely sensing. Like for example, there is a device of a CCTV camera that is controlled by remotely by or a sensor that has been completely controlled by remote means. And it could be sensing what kind of things are there, and actuation based on that, it could trigger some action. Okay, some unwanted people have come, so that block the gate, or data capture, how many people are coming in, how many people are going out. You can collect the data, or you could store the data, or data processing. All things can be done by an entire device. So these are all the basic definitions of some of the things which we should know before we proceed on understanding IoT cybersecurity related activities. Little more on that is IoT is a combination of physical objects and controllers, sensors, actuators, and plus network. This is a basic requirement of a thing that could be called as an Internet of Things, right? And it could be also like a microcontroller that it also be triggered by the controllers, means a microcontroller that could be providing a lot of intelligence, as the processing intelligence will be given by that, and a sensor which will be measuring something based on the measures, like it could be heat, or it could be a body sugar level, or it could be a pacemaker, like pulse rate or the heartbeat rate that could be measuring it, or it could be industrial sensing, how many percentage of oil has been pumped in, or how many percentage of chemical has been pumped in, those kind of a sensing activity that could be collected. Or it could be actuator that could be acting on some physical parameter, like supposing something should be triggered, switch off the particular oil pump, or switch off certain lights based on some conditions, or open up the traffic lights based on the importance of important ambulance that is coming. That's also connected to the IoT. So like this, there could be actuator that could be acting on something, and this is all the collection of collection under IoT. So IoT can be working at anything. It could be anything, any place, and anytime. These are three important parameters. Anything means, and anything could be connected, or anything could be operated upon, or any place. It could be any place. It could be the place where extreme temperatures are there, or it could be a place wherein a lot of humidity or heat, or it could be or a remote sensing location, or a human intervened location. It could be in any place or any time. It could be 24/7, or it could be anytime. It could be acted upon or acting on, or it could be operated upon. So this is an important aspect of Internet of Things, completely connected all the time, all the places. And like, for example, we can see there are a lot of smart homes that are coming up. Like, it can have a camera, or it can be a light control, or air quality. Like, we have been hearing stories on many prominent personalities, like they are on the software side, or very top or prominent personalities. They have their home completely controlled, customized by various settings. For example, if you visit a VVIP, I don't want to mention the name of the person. They have established such homes in the with them. Like, if they have. If you are visiting them, you need to give your preference, what color, what flavor, what your preference, fragrance, etc., etc. You will be giving to them, and they all will be program control. And moment you enter the room, and there could be a greeting song, which is a favorite of your favorite song, and there could be a fragrance that is coming out, which is your favorite, and the room ambience and the color would be changed to suit your need, etc. But this is on the VVIP home. But what about a common man's home? Like, for example, there are many homes connected to the internet, through the Internet of Things. There are very devices connected so that they can control the movement of inmates within the house, especially on the homes wherein aged people are situated, or there could be places wherein babies are in the house managed by their attendants, and this could be completely controlled, and what kind of things that are happening there, you can have it. Or it could even switch on your refrigerator before you come in. Okay, come on, switch on, and keep my, or you can kept on the microwave oven. It could be heating your favorite food on the oven. By the time you reach home, it will be ready for you to start eating. And like this, there are many things that will be coming up in the coming years, and we watch for it. And similarly, cities, smart cities, like there are traffic lights or parking lots. How many cars are there in the parking lot, where you can go, which location you have to go to get the parking lot, or the water level, how the level of water that need to be pumped in, or the weather conditions. So many things that our smart cities are planning, and all the smart cities will have so many features of Internet of Things. There's going to be a big boom in the coming years. and intelligent public transport, wherein you can have a automated interconnected railway, roadway, so that the roadways will be adjusting to the timings of the railways, etc. Smart grids like power, lighting, all things could be completely controlled by the remote means. And smart cars, of course, that is coming. And you've been hearing or watching various clippings about cars that are run without the physical presence of a physical driver. It automatically run car, or it could be fleet management. Sometimes the logistics management. Now you buy any item from online stores, you get immediately it will be tracked. Okay, this is where it is, your warehouse. It is left the warehouse. All these things are controlled by the IoT means. Like there are so many things that are applications have been. Many organizations are extensively using this, and especially on the smart airports, there are facilities available, especially if you visit Dubai. Of course, the previous to the COVID situation, and there are on the Emirates. There is a separate terminal for Emirates Airlines, and therein especially on the business class passengers, they need not scan their photograph. I mean, they need not scan their passport. They just by looking at the facial recognition, they will be allowed, and it will be recognized whether they have a visa or not, and what kind of a allowance that should be allowed for them. All these things are managed using smart terminals. So these are all possible by using the IoT. And of course, e-health. This has been there for quite some time. Like you have controlling the glucose level, like implanted sugar control machines, or I can say for the diabetes, or the heart rate. For that, you can have a pace. I mean, anybody who's having heart problem, they will have a pacemaker implemented, or even the depression. Even currently, that has been measured by using some sort of implanted device, the sensors in their body. And automated inhalers, like they will have an inhaler in case of any issues that coming up with a breathing trouble. They can automatically get this inhaling happening. Especially this could be happening during the hospitalization time. Like so smart hospitals, like all the precision surgeries are currently possible. Like where they will send the sensors or the cameras inside the human body. The very tiny ones, or very micro one, rather not tiny. It's very, very small. And those things will be able to take, even sometimes they are able to take a decision also. So this kind of things, and they will prompt or lead the doctor to take a final decision on doing a precision surgery. So this is how this is going to there. And the industries, of course, they are having lot of applications, or industries that are using extensively automated car assembly, automated the manufacture assembly. They are completely automated. These are all completely controlled by robotics, and on the lower end, they are controlled by the IoT devices. So this is this is very important thing, the overall holistic picture of the whole usage of the IoT devices across either the human being, or by the government, or by the individual industries, or the developers, or by the industry, etc., etc. This is all being utilized in a very prominent manner. And the important thing, there is an institution called ENISA, which is mentioning that the cyber physical ecosystem of interconnected sensors and actuators, which enable intelligent decision making. This is what is called again IoT. Another definition of IoT. So IoT devices, don't think that you will be not using it anymore, or you will it for a long time. It is not going to be there. Every household will have minimum 5 to 10 on average will have devices connected in their house, and it's a growing figure, is phenomenally increasing. And currently it is about 42 billion devices, and this is going to be almost double in the next 3 years. It's a phenomenal growth that's going to be there. And now let's move on to the next topic area, like IoT platform. What does IoT platform looks like? Like this IoT platform, as I was mentioning, there are three things. One is a control mechanism, or a microprocessor, or the next one is a sensor, and the third one basically the three important things that enables intelligence decision making. This is what is going to be happening. And it could be, as I mentioned earlier, it could be consumer electronics, automotive, or healthcare, or industrial IoT, or sometimes wearable, like wearable Google glasses, or any glasses, or any wearable, or any smart watches. Or there are many things that are also considered as a IoT devices. And the logistics, especially, they're playing a very big role currently, and how this is the precise timing they can announce that when you'll get a product and when it can move and what is the movement that is happening, etc. And of course, in sports and fitnesses, how to improve the level of performance, or it could be sometimes even how to get a precise measuring of the achievements that is achieved, or it could be even getting the very closer image or picture of some event that is happening, like by hitting a ball or touching a boundary or whatever. Those kind of things are not, we are thinking only it's a camera. It is not just a camera, but it is a sensors that are kept and that is enabling the whole thing that is happening, and based on that decisions are made. And primarily this is into the broader picture which I am showing it on the graphical picture. So showing about the device management, and sensors and actuators are playing a very important key roles. Or three things are the important ones. And this is actually having a non-volatile memory, and of course they need storages. They need a storage, and of course they also need a connectivity to either through the physical connectivity means, or Wi-Fi connectivity, or internet, or a cloud-based, any kind of sort of connectivity that is required. And also they will have a power source required for the sensor to activate, or the actuators to work on. But they need a power source. It could be a cabling, or it could be a battery, or it could be solar power, or it could be any kind of a power that is required. So IoT is a complete embedded system into some of the systems that is also actually being utilized by many of us. Okay, let's go understand what is a sensor looks like. A sensor, it is actually, maybe I can, by using this feature of PDF, I can zoom a bit. I can zoom the whole thing. Like it could be the sensor could be a boot participant. There are various sectors, body position sensors, like wherein you can keep it, or a temperature sensor, or a sound generator sensor, or could be there are many sensor ECG sensors and airflow sensors. And there are so many type of sensors that could be there, right? Sometimes the snore sensor, the people are trying to control snoring, and they also have the sensor that is there, and that will trigger some of the flavor or some of the counter mechanisms, so that snoring can be controlled in a controllable manner. And also alert patient button. Sometimes they will alert certain things, like, or it could be a glucose sensor, etc., etc. There are so many things, and blood pressure. Everything is all completely controlled in a automated means. I'm trying to adjust the screen width now. Okay, I think we are there now. Okay. Now, it could be so many things that are gathering information. Sensors' main purpose is to monitor the environment and the context to which the IoT system operates. It is actually gathering the information or sensing it, sensing anything that goes through the sensor, what's happening there, and whether it's allowable limit or not allowable limit. It will gather the information and capture it. And it can measure the defined physical or chemical or biological indicators at digital level. It could be sometimes there are various industrial units wherein human man cannot enter, because it could be a huge, the high amount of temperature would be there, or it could be a high level of chemical that are being utilized, or it could be some sort of a high pressure locations, or it could be a highly noisy location wherein the human cannot enter there at all. At this time, they will keep the sensors in appropriate location so that the sensing happening without any issues, and it will trigger, they will give a prompt the action to be taken based on that. It could be in a smart car. There are so many places it could be placed. The sensors could be placed in so many places. It could be located. Then what is actuator? I'm going to zoom it again. So the like for example, the acceleration or tilt is in case of based on the certain the sensor or something need to be modified or tilted or adjusted. The tilting can happen, or it could be electromagnetic action to be taken. For example, the in Dubai, the metros are running without the drivers. So with the no driver is running the vehicle automatic. It is all completely automated. So supposing there is a marking on the floor that the people will be standing, and they will the vehicle will come exactly to the same location where it should park the vehicle. Like for example, there could be a compartment for a ladies or a compartment for first class passengers. Automatically the sensor would adjust itself and position it into the correct location. It will be completely controlled, monitored remotely by various means, and all various devices are connected. And again, leaks and levels, like there are oil pumps or which is their offshore location, or there could be refineries processing oil and gas, or at the time, or there could be the places where in high energy levels or high heat levels are there. At those locations, any leakage of any spillage or any leakage of any oil or any other liquid, that would be monitored, that would be immediately sensed, and actuators will be acting on that. Like there are so many, the flow will be controlled, like the tap flow will be controlled, chemical, gas, and so many places. Even the noise is more than it will be controlling it. Humidity is more than automatically it will control itself. This kind of a control mechanisms are happening by using the actuators. So the machine component or system that moves and control the whole mechanism into the output or input system. Like there are various IoT assets that there is. What are the kind of assets that we are talking about? Like IoT assets would be like at the infrastructure level, there are routers, gateway, power supply, or to application level, there are various analytics, data analytics, usage, etc. Or at the information level, there could be data would be at rest. That means some data would be stored, or some data would be in a transit, like movement. Like for example, a sensor would sense something, and it will be sensing and sending it back to the backend server. It will be in the transit, and that also would be counted as how do you transmit the data, whether in the encrypted form or in the safe form, that need to be ensured. And also data in use. So sometimes the data will be processed. During the processing time, at the time how the data is handled, that need to be also be taken care. And IoT devices, like we have various hardware, sensor, of course, the software and sensors and actuators is always part of the device content. And the devices to interface with the thing, like with the sensor or with the actuator, how to interface that the device is also counted. Like you keep a sensor, and the sensor has to be connected to the back end, and how this is getting connected, the thing to interface with the things. And the device that managing the thing, like supposing if the sensor is there, and it is for example a simple sensor like a CCTV camera, you are positioning it, and you want to act something on it, and you notice some unwanted person has come inside, and immediately it will trigger the speaker to make a panic alarm or something like that. So it will be something will be from the back end, it will be managing it. Okay, this is not the correct one, so you need to trigger something. It is managing the situation, and there are devices that are connected to manage the thing, and there are embedded systems, like within that the processing will be happening, or some activity will be happening, etc. There are application services that are part of the IoT devices, wherein most of the current population of our presentation would be able to make use of this particular situation, wherein you can either design an application or write programming for that, or write or connect interfaces, etc. It will be more interesting for you. And of course, the communication using network protocols, etc. Now, the platform and interfaces and connectivity, all like, we have devices or infrastructure or a communication or a service. Like if you talk about device, there are so many devices that are connected, like including there are devices, personal implanted devices to industrial devices, and various infrastructure including servers, etc., and the storage devices. Right now, there are our cloud platform. Our communication devices would be stuck into the Wi-Fi or a 4G or whatever. No, this is a Bluetooth or any different type of customized communication devices, or it could be the services, like it could be services in the form of a programming that would be happening. Right, these are all things that happens. Okay, now coming to the IoT platform. IoT platform, like there are IoT development platform or a hardware platform or a software platform or an integration platform. Like there's a tools which I have given. There are so many things are there, but for the sake of our time limitation, I have just mentioned only about a few things. There are all customized boxes that are there. And IoT development platform, there are the tools wherein you can buy or you can use this development platform, and how to devise an application, or how to devise interface, etc. You can do that. Or it could be a IoT hardware platform, like some of the hardware platform that need to be enabled with the IoT features, and they should be there. Or it could be a IoT software platform. The software platform would be able to interface or write programs to collect the data or act based on that, take action or take a decision on that. So those things would be written on the software platform. Or integration platform, connecting various devices that need to be interconnected, interfaced. So different devices will be coming from different vendor, different manufacturer, or different segment, and it could be a different type of equipment. Everything, they may not have a standard protocols or a standard way of communication. You need to have a customization on that so that they can talk to each other. These kind of things are all happening this way. So you need to have a multiple platform levels of platform that they are available, commercially available on the market. So next topic, the current topic of cybersecurity. We are moving into the cybersecurity issues. There are so many issues that are coming up. Like for example, think bots. Like there are bots. Like bots are nothing but the programs that are sent into a device or equipment, and they act based on some triggers. Unlike the bots, like a think bots is specially designed for IoT devices, and they're all implanted in that. Or there could be RFID, like if you are using a RFID feature of any device, and that could be triggering issues such as unrestricted replay. For example, which I'm going to tell you one incident which might be causing concern to everyone, or maybe you think it's a concern for everyone. Like for example, many of us are having a RFID enabled card, or what they call the Wi-Fi enabled card, and this particular card, credit card or a debit card, that we go to the nearest point of sale to buy some item from a nearest grocery shop, or buy some item from a shopping mall, and we have to swipe the card. And instead of swiping it, there is a feature you can tap the card if it is enabled with RFID, and using it, that RFID, you can use that particular feature of that, and moment you tap it, and till the next person comes in and tap it, the information is stored residing there in that. So the unrestricted replay, that means either that could be information could be gathered and sent to everyone, or sometimes it could be even repeated. So these are all the dangerous things that could be happening. And of course, there are controls built inside, but still it is a restriction made by the vendor rather than by the device. So the device is allowing you to use the data, the lost entered data that can be easily seen. For example, if you they will send this particular lost entered data to some other share that with some other person, so that the data could be credit card number or other details could be sent to the other unwanted hands. And replay with the race condition. Race condition means is a escalated privileges in consent. Like it could be you are going, and the RFID could be used with a replay with the it could be they can replay the whole content information with escalated permissions. Like it could be administrator permission rather than a normal user permission. Next one would be on the relay attack. So information is relayed to one, especially information is collected from one RFID device is always relayed to other one, and this could be manipulated, and so that the relay could be happening to reach unwanted hands as well. So this is like this. If you take one, I'm not going to mention every thread. I just listed only a few of them. There are so many threads are there, but I just listed only a few. Home automation. These are very dangerous ones. Like there are cases wherein the doors are locked and they cannot open the door, or some doors coming with a device default password so that anybody can open the door. No security there. Like that, there are so many issues are there with the home automation or connected doorbell. Similarly, the doorbell also can open or answer the doorbell. And these are all, we will not, most of us would not have had a chance to look at that, but there are, these things are extensively used in many countries, and there are issues also coming up, and we need to be, it is not far from our builders also. Currently, I have seen recently houses built with these kind of enabled features or automated door locks, etc., are coming up as some of the features by our recent real estate promoters. And another example is a smart coffee. There are machines with the smart coffee features, like that will take your command, like add the sugar, add this level of grinding, this level of cream, etc. It will take the command from you and voice enabled ones, or it could be through even internet controlled ones. These devices, in case if it reaches the wrong hand, they can do any mischief with that. For example, one of the recent cases, what they have had is one of the organization, they have purchased this particular coffee machine, and the machine was producing the high amount of noise in this particular. Whenever you switch on the system, because they set the setting by increasing the RPM of the motor, and thereby the machine can run at the high speed and also will produce a lot of noise, and this cannot be reset back. It is continuously, so only in that situation, because that particular setting was encrypted, and they cannot again modify or any. Nothing is possible. No factory reset or anything is possible. So that organization, either they have to pay some ransom money, so that the particular coffee machine is back, or it could be it will be running in the same situation, or the other alternative should be throw off and buy another one. So this is a kind of a thing which is, and what if imagine such devices are connected to the human wearable one, and they keep on increasing the pulse rate, or increasing the dosage of insulin, or increase the level of inhaler you can say, the medicines. So these are all having a lot of issues, controlled by other persons. Then it will be a very dangerous one, either for the organization or for the environment, or for the individual, like a wearable or a smart plug, cameras, traffic lights. So the traffic light again is more dangerous. Suddenly they switch on all the traffic, then accidents would be happening. No, like this, there are many issues. There are like light bulbs, so many things like locks. This one, one of the pictures I can show you. This is coming with a default password. It's available on the internet. You can see this. Look at this, that baby monitoring camera with the default credentials. So this is having a password already enabled. So anyone trying to hack into the system, all they need to do is only enter the password as 123. Automatically, they will be gaining entry. Not only the password is very simple, but also the password is very visible to others, and so that it's quite dangerous for the baby. That's right. Now we need to be very careful with these devices. So security breaches, like the home security camera breach, or there are so many breaches that has happened. Security and control access control system breach, like household appliances, botnet attacks, or IoT security breaches in healthcare. Like, this is a access control system breach, and if you are not having a properly controlled access control system, then the access control can be either bypassed or can be allowed by anybody, or they will restrict the access to genuine users. It could be completely controlled. For example, they will trigger some system that is running at a high speed inside a data center, and they control at the same time, they block the access to the data center. And inside that, the system will be running at a high speed and producing more energy, and it might trigger a fire also. So people will not go inside to set off that. So the entire data center would be gone, and within a few minutes. So it will be quite dangerous. So we need to be having the security for the IoT devices has to be properly taken care. Why these are all happening? This is all happening because of a weak or guessable or default credentials. The credential means passwords or other credential to access the system. So they are all weak, very small. Like the password will be 1, 2, 3, 4 or some pattern. So this is a very simple one, so that it can be easily bypassed, or guessable or default credential, or sometimes an unsecured network. They will not, the network can be accessed from even people from outside. So it is quite dangerous for the person to control it. Like this, there are so many things are there, like a IoT governance, insufficient data protection, etc. So the IoT cyber attack escalated in 2021, according to Kaspersky, is one of the leading antivirus organization for giving antivirus solutions, and they say that 1.51 billion IoT breaches from Jan to June. Now, this is a beautifully defined fishbone diagram into a tree structure. They have made it by some of the research papers. I was able to capture it. Very recently published one. For the benefit of everyone, the content and the fonts are very small, so I just made them into a little bit readable form. Like, for example, activation. Activation means the IoT device, it will be activated based on some condition, and that would be in case if it is losing power. It is no power is there, it cannot be activated. The loss of power, it will even there's a dangerous situation, something need to be set off. The actual activator will not be playing its role because of loss of power, or it could be a tampering of a hardware, or it could be tampering of a software, or energy attack. Like what happens sometimes, they will The battery life is they would have defined the battery life for 1 year, 2 years, or whatever. And what they do is this activity on this particular activation, it will be continuously or constantly doing some activity because of a malware or a virus or any program that is actually affecting the whole system. At that time, because of that malware, presence of a malware, and that energy consumption will be continuously running, and so that instead of 2 years, the power would have been depleted within 2 hours or maybe within 2 days time, because they define, okay, this is going to be activated over 2 times or 10 times in a day, and they would have because of wrong the program would have initiated the activation every second, so that this is more energy is consumed, so that it is not going to serve the purpose of that. These are all the attacks on the activation. On the sensor, it could be environmental. The environmental means it could be extreme conditions. This could have been failed. It could maybe in the frozen condition, or in the extreme cold condition, or extreme hot condition, or extreme rainy situation, or something water seeping inside the system. So this will stop functioning at the time. Or it could be a loss of power. Again, loss of power is a common feature for any of these devices. Or equipment failure, or a GPS spoofing. Sometimes the sensors are all based on the GPS locations. At the time, they will even spoof the GPS location, and they will give a wrong data feed into that, so that the sensor would give a wrong result. And the radiation of the sensor will be facing a little danger one, or the sensor itself will not work in case of a radiation. Like, for example, there is a inside a chemical factory, or inside a highly thermal factory. Inside that, there could be some radiation of maybe triggered, and because of that, the sensor may not work. Like the other problems with the communication, other problem with the other segment is a communication. Using the communication time, it could be the various attacks, the classic cybersecurity attacks, like eavesdropping, like looking into the content of what is transmitting. So they will write program so that what is going on, and that will be looked inside, so that they will gather the data from by the unauthorized persons. Or it could be a replay attack or a spoofing, like I'm acting. The data will be collected as if the genuine person is requesting for information. The sensor would be sharing those information as well. Like, or a software malfunctioning, theft, corruption, spying. These are communication issue related ones. Or computation related ones, illegal process. That could be a program, malfunctioning program that will trigger illegal processing of data. Or it could be error in usage. There are so many other related classic computation related issues may be coming up. Right. The challenges on the other side would be privacy related ones, like all the information. What about your private data or health data is being shared with everyone? Or what if the control devices are insecure control? It might be leading to fatal injuries also. Or data storage. Most countries, they think that data, they have to store the data in their own country, but sometimes the country of your medical records would be outside the country. So this is not acceptable by most of the countries. Current privacy law does not allow that, like GDPR, etc. Security, security by design is not present. They add security to the device. The device is not prepared, considering security is the primary thing. So there is one of the most important one. And the safety also getting more dangerous now, like devices that are in the common place, the public place, the safety is affected. And design compatibility, and there are so many interfacing designs, devices, they need to have a lot of issues with that. Or in environmental sustainability, which I already told you, and obsolescence. This is the machine will go off faster. The new machines will be coming. The old sensor or old devices may not be compatible with the new ones. This is one of the most important things that will be coming up in the near future, or some is already there in some of the smart city countries. So some of the countries where they have smart cities. Like, for example, social internet of things. Like, for example, if a person is not well and they are in the old age home, and they would they would have implanted with a sensor, and suddenly if their health condition is not good, and immediately the sensor will call the ambulance, and the ambulance will automatically alert the nearest from the nearest hospital or nearest place it will come. And it also, the sensor also would be interacting with the backend device and find out if any nearby hospital in which the bed is vacant, and or any ward is vacant, and the ambulance will take the person to the particular ward, and also immediately inform the doctor to come and attend on the patient. So there are many things connected, like calling the ambulance and enabling the street the I would say signals, and making the bed available. There are so many ifs and buts, interconnected systems are there. So these are all will, of course, it is a good, nice thing to have, but it is involving a lot of cost. A lot of integration is very much essential, and adaptation are many persons or many locations, and remote locations especially, they would not have adapted to internet. High-speed internet is not available. It's happening in a city, it's okay, but it's happening in a village. Do they have internet, or do they have such facility? That's a question. Also, installation of various devices that needs a lot of time and setup coordination. So many things are there, and there is a nanosecond response to avoid accidents in case of going on a IoT device controlled ambulances. Very difficult to maneuver. It's a very split-second decisions need to be taken on certain things. Okay, the last section of this particular presentation is there are standards that are coming up, and very specifically they mentioned about 13 different type of controls that are required. One is on the no default password on any device, and implement a vulnerability disclosure policy. If there is a system is having a vulnerability, they should come up with their disclosure. And every time the software should be updated. Like you update your phone with the new patches comes, the IoT device also should be enabled with the automated patch updates. And also they should be securely storing the credentials of the persons. And also the communication also should happen securely. During the communication time, people should not be able to tamper their data, or the minimizing the exposure. And so is like, no, this is the system should be connected to the limited systems. Like IoT devices should be connected to limited or authorized systems only. And also ensuring the software integrity, like the software should not be tampered, altered. It may not have, every device may not have an antivirus program, but by some other means they should have a connectivity, integrity is ensured. Also ensuring that personal data is protected, and of course resilience to the outages, like power failure or anything, it should be very robust enough. And monitoring the system of any telemetry data, or it could be consumer to delete the personal data. Sometimes the customer is not willing to keep the data for longer time. The customer should be allowed to delete the data. And installation maintenance should be easy, should not be very complex. You buy a device, you should be able to install it and start using it. And validate the input data. And people cannot trigger, by inputting some unwanted data, they cannot manipulate the whole system. It should not be allowed. So I have got another 2 more slides to go. There are systems like, there is a standard called IEC 62443. There is actually having multiple segments, like the general, they got different sections and policies and procedures, or for a system or for a component, they got to define the practices. These are all device specific implementation are there. So anybody is interested in going through the standard, they can certainly go through 62443. And one of the requirement which I have already mentioned to you, this is one of the things is mentioned as a code of practice. This is a part of this the standard only. They've got defined 13 different steps that need to be followed. And for further reading, you can even go through this country level, country specified, can say recommendations like Australian government or California state of or European or NIST, USA or Singapore. All these things are all different country. Australia, California, USA again, European or US, and again Singapore, different countries they have. And also, these are all the things that are coming up in the next future, like Cloud Security Alliance is coming up with a new framework by IoT control framework, or Hong Kong or Japan, they're coming up with the new controls. And there are policies, they're mapping the policy to IoT for various programming systems also. And also there are codings available, especially if you download the code, if you go there, there's, the code is already available, the code of practice if you start looking down. And the very high level reference model, looking at that, primarily it needs authentication, authorization, access control, and the system should be available continuously. And it should be encrypted, and also it should not be tampered by any unauthorized means, or should have a securely communicated between various devices, and they cannot repudiate later. Okay, non-repudiation means, and they cannot deny an action that has been initiated by them. And these are all basic level of security that need to be there on devices, on communication, or a cloud, or any platform, or application. All these things should practice these 8 principles. And with this, I'm coming to the end of this presentation. There are 2 minutes more. And if you have any questions, you can ask. Maybe I can take 1 or 2 questions.
Any participants, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, post your question in the chat box.
Okay, thank you. That do you want to have any final remarks? So that from my side, I'm done, and maybe you can take up the session and just close it to take it a closer. Thank you.
Sir, no queries, sir. So I want to give vote of thanks. So on behalf of this organizing team, it's my pretension to thank the speaker for spending his valuable time to grace this occasion and enlighten us with the admirable talk on the subject of cyber security in IoT. Sir, you have provided very informative and perception to researchers and practitioners those who are interested in cyber security of IoT. Thank you so much, sir, for enriching our thoughts in Internet of Things. Once again, we want to thank you for your valuable and reasonable speech for us.
Well, thank you so much.
About IoT, sir, up to date. You have given, yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for giving up-to-date details about IoT, sir. Thank you once again, sir, for giving us. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm just signing off now. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful speech, sir. Thank you. Next session going to start. Let us start the next session at 3:30 p.m. Thank you. Let us start the next session at 3:15 p.m.
Yeah, and
Professor, I'm there in the call. It's JB Simha.
so
நான் தான் host. அதான் நான் சொன்னேன் இங்க ஷேர் பண்ண போறேன்.
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Sir, we can start the session at 3:15.
No problem. No problem. I'm ready. Just I'm trying to share the screen and see. Can I record this?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I have 350. You have to give me permission to record this.
Sir, a live is going on in YouTube, sir.
Okay. Can I have the link? I don't see any link. Just I thought if it's going on in YouTube, that's really great. We can.
Okay. If you want, we will mail you, sir.
Sure. Thanks you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. They will share the YouTube link.
I'll put it in the group then. In the main group. More is free like the mutton, no?
They are not sharing it now. I don't know what else.
There is one national seminar he's a presenter. No. Too many things. Huh. So if you would have actually had a little rough thing.
Sure, let me do one thing. Let me prepare my profile to the extent whatever that I got input from you. Okay, and I will share the initial version for your review so that I can build on top of it with your and feedback.
You don't have to. You don't have
Sir,
to come
excuse me, sir.
here and ask for-
Yes, Professor. Tell me, please.
Sir, you're in unmute.
Sorry.
Sir, we can hear your voice, sir. You're in unmute.
Oh, okay, my apologies. Sure. Let me help you.
Okay.
Okay.
everywhere quantifiable like, where you say that I release the product faster.
Sir, we have sent the YouTube link, sir.
Have you sent it in chat or?
Email ID, sir.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
I'll check that.
Coming
Yeah.
to the project team,
Back. The
Sir, shall I start the session, sir? Sir, shall I start the session, sir?
hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir,
No, sir.
sir, it is showing your network is low, sir.
Oh my God. Okay, okay. Just give me a minute.
Yes, sir.
Just give me some
We'll start the session in few minutes. Network issue.
Prof, can you enable Dr. Shinu Abi? She is also on the call. I will present from that system. I'm not able to connect from this system. Hello?
Sir, please repeat the name, sir.
Dr. Shinu?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. So I'll do it from there. I will mute here.
Yes, sir. Sir, please check, sir. Sir, please check in, sir.
I think
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. we
Okay.
can press- Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir. Shall I
Uh,
start?
not audible.
Shall I start, sir?
Very feeble. Am I audible?
Sir, shall I start the session, sir? Can you hear me?
Please. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Let's go on.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I take the pleasure of introducing our speaker, Dr. J. B. Simha, CTO of Abiba Systems. He pursued his PhD at Bangalore University in the topic decision support and data mining. His area of interest is artificial intelligence, soft computing, machine learning, deep learning. He has more than 18 years of experience in his own field. He served as CTO and BI architect, Bygones Consulting, January 2002 to January 2005, consultant, Siemens Information System Limited, January 2005 to December 2005. Presently, CTO awards such as Cyber Top 10 Data Science Academicians, Analytics India, September 2019, NASSCOM Award for Excellence in Analytics, June 2015. With this brief introduction, I welcome your ideas to contribute to the success of this conference. I once again welcome you, sir. The session is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Professor. It's now pleasantly surprised to see Fuzzy Logic is back in limelight. So when I did my PhD in Fuzzy Logic, earlier we never used to call it as deep learning. We all used to call it as hierarchical learning. Now we call it as deep learning. Good to see that Fuzzy is, because I saw so many professors talking about the application of Fuzzy Logic in most of the mathematical stuff. So good to see that. Thanks once again for inviting me for this session. I'm not an academician. I come from an industry background, and for us, if it is not working, however good theoretically it is useless for us. So we always take the stance that if it is not working, don't use it. If it is not understandable, don't use it. If it is not easy, don't use it. We'll keep this thing simple and stupid. Sorry to use such languages, because it's easy for us to say any stupid thing which can be understood by ordinary people is a good system. If it requires a PhD, it is not. So taking that clue, I just want to go with what exactly is the theme of the session and why we would like to say explainable AI is the future. I don't know how long the current hype of the black box, you feed something to AI will take over, is likely to be there. I don't see that happening because already people are feeling AI is not adding any value. Because it needs Google scale data, Twitter scale data. How can you expect a 200-bed hospital in Chennai or in Bangalore will have such a kind of data? How can you expect a company having 300 trucks moving across the India has such a kind of data? It is unlikely to have such kind of data. It is not possible for us to have huge data and work with that. That's one of the reasons. But the actual reason for me to get into this is it has done a complete cycle. First, we started with symbolic AI. Symbolic AI, probably my age group people and my seniors will remember that as expert system. We wanted to hack the brain of the expert, how he's doing. It may be a sales expert, it may be a medical doctor, it can be a technician who can repair a boiler or possibly an aircraft or anything else. For that matter, we wanted to see on what basis these people are trying to become experts. Can they make their rules explicit? Can they tell me about how they are deciding somebody is good, somebody is bad? How they decide, how they diagnose a particular component is failed because of this reason. How do they do that? Is it so implicit that I cannot understand? Or is it very explicit that he can tell me, I can reproduce myself? And it started the era of expert systems. And there was a problem with the expert system. One of the problem was it was all based on what we call as the production rules. Production rules has nothing to do with the production systems. Basically, it has been put into production. That's why it's called as production rules. Those rules are nothing but if you find X, then Y is likely to happen. So it is nothing but the antecedent and the precedent. If the precedent conditions are met, the antecedent is true. That started with Aristotelian logic, the Platoan logic. So that is the beginning of the intelligence, which we call as symbolic intelligence. There, everything was supposed to be known. If it is not known, I don't trust that. Not that now we are agreeing, but people are trying to force it on us. If you don't know also, if the AI says, believe that. On the other hand, we are not ready to believe God is there. Because they ask for the proof. When they say that AI told this, accept it. No, that's not acceptable. We don't accept it. So symbolic AI started with how exactly the system can be made explicit to make a decision. To arrive at some kind of inference, what is the knowledge that it has used? What is the reasoning mechanism that it has used? So these two were important in the symbolic AI systems. But symbolic AI systems failed because of one reason, the explosion of the rules. As of now, the sweet spot for the symbolic system is around 1,000 rules. If it costs us 1,000 rules, we would like to go for a graph search algorithm like RETI and others. But even then, RETI fails after 10,000 rules. 10,000 simple rules. I'm not talking about the complex rules which contains 200 variables. So in such cases, there's a problem in learning. The earlier expert systems, for example, we used to call them as expert system shells. Just use the reasoning mechanism, the knowledge-based mechanism, and possibly some kind of explanation mechanism as a common template. Just try to replace the knowledge. In fact, it reminds me of a joke we used to have during our AI days. It is something like they took an expert system, and that expert system is for diagnosing medical problems. Then somebody came and consulted the expert system. Expert system asked, because it has to explain, it asked the patient or the people who came with the patient, is the body hot? They said yes. And they asked, is the body surface contains red color patches? They said yes. And it said you have measles and that's why it is fever. And they said rest. And when they came out and saw, it was a car. It was an old car It has ran for about 200 kilometers and it was hot and its paints were patched and the red oxide was visible. So that was the problem when we wanted to see two things and take one in one context and apply it in the another context, that was failing. So the pattern, the template that we would like to see in terms of how exactly I should do the reasoning, how exactly I should represent the knowledge, keep the knowledge, and what is the mechanism for inference, that has not changed ever since. It remains same. Only the content is going on changing. But the problem with most of these systems was low learning capabilities. If I take any rules from the expert, one thing that I can do is take the data, calibrate the rules. If the rules are matching with the data, then retain the rules. If the rule is not matching with the data, remove the rules. That is the learning that was possible. Even today, we suggest that before you go for adoption of AI and things like that, you have experts who are with you. Don't discount the experience of humans, because humans can bar AI. Tomorrow, if the government says AI system should not be used, that is the death of AI. No more improvements. So humans are superior in every way. So if that is the case, humans have a capability, some creative capability to make nothing out of anything or anything out of nothing. Both are possible from the humans. So if that is the case, is there a possibility we take the rules and we try to calibrate? Always we say that if you want to start your AI journey, start with simple rules. If you cannot have simple rules, you cannot have AI. You can purchase AI, you can install it in your home, but nothing happens. You can bring Google Assistant and say, Google, what is the weather? It will tell, but you don't know what to do afterwards. But if a simple rules which says that if it is cloudy outside, better carry an umbrella, that makes more sense than having the Google Assistant at home. So all symbolic rules are based on the common sense understanding, the knowledge representation and reasoning of humans. But if we cannot adopt that, I don't suggest you should go for the advanced things like machine learning, deep learning, revolutionary computing. No, we should not go for such kind of things. The first thing is go with symbolic AI. That's the first step. And anybody can implement symbolic AI. Whether they have the data, they have no data, they can implement symbolic AI. We would like to see that. So once they know the symbolic AI is implemented, the rules are not sufficient, the human rules that are there is accurate only up to 50%, 100% of the rules are not applicable. You may have 100 rules, but only 50 rules are applicable, 50 rules are not there. Then we would like to discover the patterns that are there in the data. That's where we move to the second step. We will come to this step. We will come to machine learning. We will use a decision tree. We will use a rule induction system. And that's what we call a strong AI. The difference between the weak AI and the strong AI is weak AI is general system, artificial general intelligence. It is like humans. Humans are very weak. They are very creative, but they are not strong. Strong in the sense they do not have in-depth knowledge about one particular topic. For that, if somebody has to do a MD or MTech or a PhD, it takes about 20 years of experience of the humans to become that. So that's what we call as a strong AI. So a strong AI is very specific in one area, and machine learning is very specific in one area, which learns from the data. Unfortunately, what is required in strong AI, 98% of the people, I repeat, 98% of the people miss is labeled data. Labeled data is not there. Simply they get some data. They say, I have 20 terabytes of data I collected from solar system. What to do with that? I said, don't do anything, sit on it. Nothing, you cannot do anything. You need labeled data. Actually, labeled data is everything. Most of the times they say that unlabeled data, I will go for, unstructured things. No, there is nothing called as unstructured data and things like that. Everything has to be structured. Somebody else will do that. It is passing on the risk to somebody else. So we had to have the labeled data, and machine learning started with labeled data. And after decision tree, it was more or less similar to the rules, the symbolic AI and things like that. But of late, the tech companies started pushing the idea that neural networks, deep learning will take over. Even I'm part of the game because I had to tell that, otherwise people don't believe. We say, good. You should have 2 deep learning models. One for finding which deep learning model, another to build a deep learning model. So you should have 2 deep learning models. Nothing wrong with that, right? Always go with the hype. Whatever the hype, go with the hype, right? So is it that DL is bad? No, DL is not bad. So when I have only a hammer, everything looks like a nail. For everything, there is a different tool, and we have to choose the appropriate tool for the appropriate work. But unfortunately, what has happened now is I saw even CBSE adopting neural networks in their syllabus. I really don't know, without teaching the fundamentals, the foundation, they are trying to teach how to build high-rise building, right? In fact, for us, AI should be taught in the first standard. The three things that we are looking in AI are, number one, you should tell me how to represent the knowledge. 99% of the people don't know how to represent the knowledge. The next thing that we would like to do is how to do reasoning. Reasoning is not taught. Whether it is logical reasoning, it is probabilistic reasoning, it is approximate reasoning, reasoning is not taught. They assume somehow neural network is doing something. Nobody questions how neural network is doing that. Neural network is there, it is learning, it's not my problem. Let me use some library, I will pass some data, something will come up, we will work. No, that is not the way it has to be taught. It is like telling a child, look, in fact, we have been told so many times, don't cry, I will give it to police. Even now, even if my son is crying, I tell that, I will give you to police. He will stop crying. Now we know that if somebody cries, tell you will give to police, they will not do. So neural network should not be used like that. Neural network should be used judiciously. So we should see when, where, how it has to be done. Now people are understanding, oh, neural networks alone is not sufficient. It's a black box model. We need explanation. Earlier explanation was not there, learning was not there. So it was there. Symbolic AI was explaining. It was representing the knowledge in the if-then form. And it was explaining using probabilistic reasoning or fuzzy reasoning or Dembski-Schaeffer reasoning. There are plenty of reasoning methods by which it was telling, this is how I am reasoning, this is how I am representing. But learning was limited. It was just calibrating the rules which were given by the expert. Now what happened? We have moved beyond. We started using the labeled data. Rather than unlabeled or unsupervised learning, we moved towards labeled supervised learning, and we got better results. I don't discredit any of the improvements. Even improvement of it is not working is good. That's research. That's good. It should be there. I'm not discounting anything. What I'm doing is, when we do something, we should laugh at it when we understand that how stupidly we are using it. When we don't do it, we restrict ourselves, calling, okay, this is the way it has to be done. In fact, most of the time, I was telling my professor now that fuzzy logic is back. We were fascinated by fuzzy logic because fuzzy logic is the way we try to think. It is computing with words. So everybody, first they start computing with words, not with numbers. So I will come to that later, why we would like to go for computing with words and fuzzy logic. But the idea is, it has moved from ML, DL to actually now explain how neural network has understood this is cat, this is dog. Just because you have shown me 1,000 times, does it mean that 1,000 first time it is correct? I don't know, because I have not tested 1,000 first time. I might have done it for 1 million times. Is it correct? 100 million, first million? No, not me. Million plus one, it may not be correct. We don't know, because I cannot understand how we are explaining. The best example comes from most of the AI in medical field. Doctors reject it. When the diagnosis happens from AI, even today, I appreciate that. I will not accept if AI comes and says that it will check my CT scan and says this guy doesn't have brain. Can I accept it? No, just because AI is telling, I cannot accept it, because I think I have brain. That's why I'm thinking. That's what has been taught to me. I have learned that. My brain is learning that. I'm reasoning. So when I'm doing that, it becomes difficult for me to accept, just because a deep learning AI model built with 20 trillion parameters has predicted, it has been built by SpaceX, Google, FANG team, all together, put together, entire world has appreciated. Still, I don't accept it. I don't know how people accept it, but I don't accept it. Because for me, explanation is everything. It has to explain me. In fact, it reminds me of one story. A patient was taken to X-ray. And when the X-ray came, the doctor was puzzled. They started telling that this person's lung has been severed into half, 2 halves. Vertically, it has been cut here. And they were wondering how this person is still alive, because the system told that it has been severed. Now they called a old doctor, maybe around 92 years, and he asked, just check whether that guy is a Brahmin. Oh, they check, oh, this guy is a Brahmin. Check whether he has a thread. So, oh yes, that is there. Then slap the clinical technician. He has not removed the thread before taking the X-ray. It has shown, and you people are accepting that it is broken because AI told it is broken, right? Explanation is everything. When something is not, when it is required, do you think that I'm all for explanation? Not necessary. A machine talks to another machine. Explanation is not needed there. When it is machine to machine talk, you try to go and take something in Amazon. You purchase a book. It recommends that somebody who has taken this book also takes the other book. Nobody is looking at, you are also not interested, right? It is machine to machine talk. In such cases, explanation is not needed. But when it is a critical decision, normally we say that social discrimination, medical criticality, safety, in all these cases, explanation is needed. When it is making money, explanation is not needed. Even if the neural network is wrong, explanation is not there. If money is coming, it is good. We are not telling that. But when it puts you in trouble, puts you behind the bars, we want the explanation. Why it is so? And that is very essential. Explanation is very essential. So what happens here is, when it comes to this, we would like to have explainable AI. We had a lot of strong AI, right? It can learn from large data. In fact, I can give one evidence because I personally have worked with 70 million customers with about 2 terabytes of data. We have learned the models. Doesn't matter, right? In fact, they say, no, I really appreciate Galileo. He said that just because the king thinks Earth is the center of the solar system and the church thinks Earth is the center of the solar system, I will also accept Earth is the center of the solar system, but it is not going to change the reality. Isn't it? So the same thing applies everywhere. Just because I'm using big data, it doesn't mean that everything is right. So one thing we have to understand is all AI is to reduce that big data into smallest form, which can be understood by humans. If it cannot be understood by humans, it will become a useless thing. We cannot use it. So you cannot force, you cannot put a chip in my brain and that chip will talk to another chip. Then who am I? So I had to ask Ramana Maharshi, who am I? So I cannot do that. I know who am I, and I would like to restrict, and I'm happy with that. People may call it as stupid, arrogant, whatever it is, but that's the way we are. We want to rule AI, not to be ruled by AI. So if that is the case, we are expecting explain. The future systems, what we are trying to do is, can the system construct explainable models? We will come to what is explanation, how it will be done and things like that. What are the problems with the current systems? The second thing is adaptive learning. In fact, we are working on what is called as the transfer learning problem, or what is called as the bellwether indicators kind of thing. So I will build a model for Infosys. Can I apply the model for Wipro? I will build a model in Turkey. Can I apply the model in India? I would like to build a model in Moon. Can it be applied in Moon of Jupiter? Where is the problem? Can it adapt to the new tasks, new situations? Can it learn? Can it explain why it has taken that decision? Normally, humans have two tendencies. One is called as exploitation. I am knowledgeable. I am doctor. I am PhD. Whatever I say is the thing, if it's correct. Normally, we go with that. Okay, you exploit your knowledge. The second is explore. I don't know, teach me. So these two things are not there with deep AI, deep learning, machine learning kind of thing. They need some kind of explanation which will be provided by explainable AI. So this is the evolution that has happened. We started with explainable AI. We moved to big data, learning systems and things like that. We are back to explainable AI. So people say that history repeats. For me, most of the time I read, history won't repeat, history rhymes. History has rhymed. So it's back in explainable way. So with this introduction, I would like to move to the current deep learning models. What exactly is happening here? So I won't go deep into this because of the time provided for me. I will not get into the details, but I would like to incite and create the controversy, stir the system. You can be with me, you can be against me, both are good. So in both the cases, please provide evidence. Just because I'm speaking, very convincingly, don't agree with me. Just because you don't agree with me, don't say that this guy is wrong. Not correct. I don't need your agreement. What I need is evidence. You tell me evidence why this is wrong. I will tell you why this is wrong. Right? So normally what is happening is we have deep learning networks. You provide only labeled data and it learns somehow all the features, but I don't know what feature it has learned. I really don't know what it has learned, but if I go inside, it will say that it has learned the tail, it has learned the leg, it has learned the mouth, it has learned 2 legs. Now my problem is, what is the difference between these 2 legs and this leg? Who will give me that? How can I understand this? Because the moment I see the dog, I know it is dog. Why do I need all these things? It is not needed. In fact, that's why explanation is needed. That's why, in fact, I'm very happy with the MCQs in anything, because nobody wants me to explain why I did that. Right? If it's a descriptive answer and if it's a derivation, everybody can say what is wrong. But MCQ, good, just tick it. If luck is in your favor, you will become number 1. Right? So this, by luck, it is doing something. In fact, there is a large body of evidence called as the random field networks. You can read that. It means that there is no need to optimize any of these parameters. The hyperparameter tuning and other things is a big hullabulla. It's not needed. You just build 1 layer neural network, put 10,000 neurons in that and randomly weight it, and then just optimize using Moore-Penrose inverse. The same accuracy will come for your deep learning and the huge, large neural network. In both the cases, we don't know what is happening. Why that random weight is there, right? I'm not against any of that, because I can speak this because my PhD in this area. So I can say this. Now I laugh at it. Okay, people wanted to listen to that, I will speak. But now people are listening to explainable AI, will speak that, right? So the idea is, both the cases, if they are wrong, I would like to go with very simple, stupid, extreme neural network, which is nothing but a flat neural network with 10,000 neurons in 1 layer, instead of 20 neurons in 50 layers. So when it goes for 20 neurons in each layer for 50 layers, it becomes deep neural network. But when it has only 3 layers, 8 inputs, 10,000 neurons, 1 output, it becomes a flat neural network. In both cases, we don't know how it is learning, what it has learned. More dangerous and most dangerous thing is when we don't know what it has learned. Never trust anything you don't know. In fact, we would like to credit this to Francis Bacon, who says that anything you learn is to question that knowledge, not to accept that knowledge. Never accept any knowledge, whether it is coming from the highest of the country, don't accept it. Even if God gives, we are created gods, what is there? Right? Normally people say, no, you cannot. Oh, I'm a theist. I'm not an atheist, I'm a theist. But still I speak, we are created God, we'll create one more God. It's not a big problem for us. We can question God, right? Because the God gives, concept of God gives some kind of solace, some kind of psychological concession for me to be happy. We are okay with belief in God. Whether God exists or not, who cares? We need that knowledge, explanation, why belief in God is necessary, not whether God is there or not, whether it is male or female or child. Who cares? Explanation is everything. Explanation is not there in the current fashion or the current trend. Is it wrong? No. If you want to get a job, get into deep learning. You say that you have built, if you have heard 50, you say that you have built 55 layer neural network with 1 trillion parameter. Right? Train that, do that, get the answer. If the answer is similar to simple, stupid rules given by domain expert, don't reveal that. Right? But that is not the way. That is not the transparency in research we would like to carry. Research is always reproducibility. We would like to demonstrate this is how my neural network has learned and this is the explanation. There is a large body, which is growing body, which is called as neurosymbolic learning, which is a combination of neural networks and knowledge-based systems. That's becoming the norm. But we say even that is not needed. Make it simpler, make it stupid. Can we make that is the question. So that's where we need explanation. Why explanation is needed? Let's look at it. Transportation. So you will say that you will sit in a car, it's a self-driven car, autonomous car, and you will sit in Delhi and say, I want to go to Bangalore. It will take you to, let's say, that Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. Are you okay? Will you say that, yes, oh, it's a self-driving car, self-learning car made by Tesla, right? Completely, autonomous, everything is good, but it has taken you to Timbuktu. Why you want to go there? You are supposed to be in Bangalore. Explanation is not there. Same thing in finance. It says that the trend is up, you put the money there. It will not explain anything. It says that neural network, I have used 20 terabyte of data for 70 years. My signal says that you have to put money in XYZ stock, put it. And if you put it, we say in, when they play poker, if you don't know who the Ponzi is, you are the Ponzi. When you don't know who the joker is, you are the joker, right? That thing, as a researcher, we had to question everything, every damn thing that we do, question it. Don't believe anything you know. What you know, your half-life, at least in artificial intelligence, half-life is 3 years. After 3 years, what I believe will not be true. Somebody else, some new kid on the street will come and tell me, hey, old man, what you know is wrong. That's good. That's the way it should be. It should not be written in stone. So it should be completely self-adapting, self-learning and explainable. When it will not explain, I will go with a new fad. Now new fad is neuroevolutionary learning. Use genetic algorithms to build neural networks. Another fad, go ahead with that. But what is the carbon footprint? What is the cost of building such kind of networks? Is it worth? In fact, recently somebody said that they have enough work to settle in Mars. We are telling, why are you waiting? Who asked you to stay here? I don't need you to tell me. You can sell the cars from Mars. I will take that. That's a different thing. But I don't need you in this space. So what we need is somebody who can give food, somebody who can give vaccine against COVID. These are the people we are looking at, right? So explanation is everything. Same thing in security. In fact, that's a big problem. Probably you can remember when I quote these incidents, when a black woman was shown to Google AI, it has predicted that woman, it has classified that woman as gorilla. Can we accept it? Such a kind of social injustice. If it has happened in India, it would have been a national stir. From Kanyakumari to Kashmir, from Gujarat to Mizoram, there would have been a big halla stating down. This cannot happen. How can you call somebody as something else? No, I agree, completely agree. That is this culture. That's a social phenomenon. We should explain why it has classified that woman as gorilla. If that explanation is not there, the whole security is flawed. Maybe it can work in some states, some nations where they would like to monitor their citizens under camera. So policing is not the way of humans. We want to be social animals, not being monitored by the state. So you have to do like this, your cutting should be like this. I saw one of the rogue countries stating that. So people say, no, you should not tell that. I'm okay. So it's a rogue country run by a rogue administrator. He says that if you watch internet, you will be killed. If you don't have the cutting like this, you will be killed. Right? You know that country, not to be named, but it is there. Right? You can see that explanation is needed. Otherwise, it becomes a rogue state. So we are not. We do not want security to be a rogue phenomenon of AI. Right? We want it to explain. We want security. Let's say that a child is playing and it's going to fall into a well. It stops that happening. That's a beautiful example of security. It identifies somebody and it tracks somebody because he is against the state. No, it is not a good one. I can be against state. Nobody says that you cannot be against the state, right? But you cannot go against the state and have hands with your anti-national state activities. That's not good. That is anti-security. No, it is not. We are not talking about that. We are talking about a humane security. How can we make it humane security? Next is legal. Just because it belongs to some community, something like that. No, we cannot. That's not possible in India. At least in most of the developed countries, it is not possible. That's why we have law, lawyers, courts, and other things. So the last people to accept artificial intelligence are lawyers. You know why? 99.9% of what they say is lie. So there is no logic, there is nothing. So they won't accept. They will prove AI is wrong. That's good, but when you explain, they cannot. So that's why all the law, all the court verdicts depend on evidence. Evidence cannot come from black box systems. So we need evidence in terms of explicit evidence formulae. Court needs in a particular format. It has to be given in that particular format. So, and that needs explicit explanation. Legal system cannot take deep learning and all those things. It is not an evidence. Medicine, like I told you, normally I will go for a person who says that I will hold your pulse and tell you something because I'm interested. If that and the cancer are correlated, he says that there is some problem with your blood cells and my blood report says that some white blood cells are more. Both are matching. I know, yes, that's why we say go for a second opinion. If the second opinion is also got from another computer, gone case. Right? Both of them are agreeing or both of them are orthogonal to each other. One says you have brain and another says you have no brain. Or the worst case is one says you have no brain, another says you have two brains. Big problem because there is no explanation why it is arriving at that. So medical will not accept open systems like that. I mean, closed systems like that. They need open systems where I can break it open and see what is inside. Military, very, very difficult. Normally, I don't speak about military, legal, security, and all those things. But most of the countries where this is phenomenally successful is by visual systems. They would like to track you. They would like to track your phones. They would like to track XYZ. From the legal perspective, they're all illegal. Because it is military, it's national security, something may be given. We will give a benefit of doubt to the government. We will not touch that. But it needs explanation once it becomes war crime. Let's be very clear about that. Another government may come and say that you prove everything. No, it is better to be transparent and say everything. But in case of national security and others, it may not be possible. That's why we say that in this case, explanation may not be needed. But in this case, explanation is needed, right? You might have seen in finance, there was what is called as algorithmic trading, where machines will trade on their own. And trust me, you can read it. There is what is called as nanostorms. Nanostorms because they become stupid at some point of time and arrogant at other points of time. And that creates nanostorm and people will lose money. And they say that market is not like that. Your systems are like that because they are not explaining why they have created the nanostorm in the first place. So these are the problems that we are facing now and people are realizing now. Normally, most of the time what happens is only when I undergo the pain, I will understand the value of certain things. Otherwise, it is not possible. I will go with the hype. So now we have understood after 20 years, we have understood whatever the systems we have developed so far is a progression, but not the end. AI is a progression, but it's not the end. So what is the next in the progression? The next in the progression is, normally we say history rhymes, so explain it. So we are coming to explanation again. So there are different methods of explanation, but why we need explanation? Basically, we cannot go with black box. We cannot go with black box. I don't know how many of you have seen YouTube recommendations. You see something, then YouTube recommends. Who the hell the YouTube is to recommend me what I had to see, right? And they do not want to open up their algorithms. You know why? Because they are making money out of their algorithms to recommend you what you have to see, what you have to read, how you have to think. The moment somebody goes with Facebook, Twitter, all those things, they will be biased because if nobody conditions, you will condition yourself because somebody else is conditioning, your thought process is gone. So you become a black box. So anything can be trained on you. So you become like a carbon paper. I can write it and you will repeat it. You will retweet it. You will agree with that. No, that's not the way. You are not asking for explanation because we say any PhD, any kind of research in AI systems should start with doubting. Doubt everything. Everything is wrong. Something are useful. Just get the things which are useful. One of the useful things is explanation. Get the explanation. The model may be wrong, but the explanation can be correct. That's very, very important. So that's why we would like to go for the white box systems. So white box systems are the craze for maybe next 10 years. We may be looking at, okay, how to build it. Again, we may go back and say, no, neural network is good. Let's go back to that. That's a different thing. But the idea is we are entering a new phase, which requires explanation. Now, what is a spectrum? So if you look at the spectrum, it starts with rule-based system. So in the rule-based system, the rules are there. If there is a high temperature, then it is fever. If it is fever, then give paracetamol. Very clear. Explanation is very clear. So a rule-based system, complexity is very low, explainability is very high. Can we build only rule-based systems? No, we have to add one more dimension here, that is accuracy. A rule-based system accuracy most of the times is less than the deep learning models. Deep learning models are very accurate models, very good models. I don't doubt the accuracy of the deep learning models because we build them. We know they are good. They cannot explain, right? If you want to choose somebody between a blind and one-eyed, I will select one-eyed. What will you select? Possibly one-eyed or possibly blind because he is very strong, right? A blind, very strong, I don't know what is the use of him, even though a weak person with a gun but has one eye is much better. So normally we would like to settle it some way, right? The various methods, the progression will be decision trees. I would like to draw the decision trees. In fact, when I teach any of my participants and things like that, for me, if they know only one technique, which is decision tree, more than sufficient. You know all AI. You want to do segmentation, you want to do anomaly detection, you want to do classification, you want to do regression. You can do anything if you know decision tree, and decision tree explains. There's a problem with the decision tree unstable and all those things. Who said it gives high accuracy, very stable system? We are not telling that. Do you think all experts are excellent, 100% accurate? Even today, we tried getting the success of doctor, how many patients he saw, how many patients got cured. Nobody wants to publish that data. Nobody wants that. How many surgery a particular surgeon did, how many people died because of that? Because they say that when they do it, it is God's permission. God did not allow him to do. Then why surgeon is needed? I could have been without surgery. Surgeon was taken because his opinion says that they always say the chances of being alive is 10%. So 90% of times I know he will die. Normally it happened. I was asking why ventilator? Ventilator so far nobody has given. Hardly about 2% of people will return in ventilator alive. So why? In some cases, yes, terminal cases, they will go for ventilator. We have to accept it. The probability is very high for death. Not that they will not be alive. So we would like to see such kind of things. That's one of the important things. That's the explanation, because people won't accept it. So decision tree is more than sufficient. Stability is not the issue. Stability is not the issue. Explainability is the issue. They're also in decision tree, if we go for more than 5 levels, 200 levels, 300 levels, it is as complex as neural networks. We should not go for that, right? Maximum is 5 plus or minus 2. We will come to that. That's called as cognitive complexity. We will see that. The next is statistical models. In fact, for about 40, 50 years, this group ruled most of the modeling. Statistical team always says that if it is not accepted as statistics, it is not good. We say statistics itself is not a science, because it's just a rejection. At least we accept maths as a science, or maths as maths, right? Statistics is neither a science nor a math. When you are telling that everything is linear, is unacceptable. And everything has to be normal, is again unacceptable. And there cannot be any outliers, is unacceptable. You cannot say outliers should not be there. Then we should not have Bill Gates, we should not have Jeff Bezos, we should not have Elon Musk. Send them out, send them, they are not needed. Everybody should have 1,000 rupees per month. That is normal. Normality is not the thing. Abnormality is what we have to look at. Statistics generally assumes everything is normal, then only I can work the models. That is not correct. Then it means that if you are 10 kg, then I can make you 5 kg. If you are already 50 kg, I cannot make you 5 kg. That is not the way. We at the AI, we are looking at, is one person out of 1 million has changed from 50 kg to 5 kg? Get him, see what he has done, replicate it. I may not reduce it by 45 kgs, but I may reduce by 10 kgs. That's good, right? I may not be 100% accurate, but I'm useful. And that comes with decision trees and statistical models. Next is machine learning models. Decision tree is another machine learning model, but it is way above all others because it explains well with some conditions, right? ML models like support vector machines, random forest, gradient boosting, you name it, doesn't matter. So we are unbiased when it comes to blasting anything. Yeah, ML models are good, their complexity is very high. And then deep learning models. Actually, beauty of the deep learning model is nobody understands and everybody is afraid. For us, we don't know who the king is. King is still naked, right? Deep learning is still unable to understand. I cannot understand deep learning. Please excuse me. I have a PhD in deep learning, but I cannot understand deep learning because it is not explaining me. For me, as my professor used to tell me, if you cannot explain it to a small kid, you really don't know what you're doing. I can explain this. In fact, normally I will ask, do you know why minus into minus is plus? I cannot explain it to my daughter. I can explain it to ring theory, why minus into minus is plus, but I cannot explain it to my daughter, why minus into minus is plus. So deep learning, right? So with a PhD, deep learning can be explained. What is dropout rate? what exactly is neuroconnectivity, what is plasticity, all are good, men. But how many variables are required? 20,000 variables. How many parameters? 1 trillion. By the time you optimize it, you're gone. And you have to use one model built by Google everywhere else. That is not the way we learn, right? We learn individually. Deep learning models are good compared to accuracy. And the difference requirement is between accuracy and explainability. You have to choose. If it is machine to machine, it is accuracy which is more important. If it is machine to humans, it is explainability which is more important. I don't care. I don't care if system says this is XYZ, still I believe a human doctor. Because that frequency or the way in which they can communicate is much better than a machine. Machine is unemotional. In some cases, it is good, right? Especially we are telling that make every government office as a AI system. There should not be emotion so that you can remove the corruption. Just see that they won't make any of the government systems as AI enabled. They will not do it. For simple reason, don't know where to start. We say that start with the simple, stupid rules, automate everything, right? Just go for robotic process automation of your systems and things will become better. Then you can move towards AI. We want government to be operated by AI and AI operated by people. That's where we want explainability. So if we go ahead with explanation, what are the approaches? There is analytic approach. This is the approach we are comfortable with. We want everything to be explained with language. Natural language, if we can explain, that is a good explainability of the model. Next will be visualizations. Next will be cases, nothing but K nearest neighbor, case-based reasoning, things like that. Then there will be alternative choices, right? I will not get into this because this is more philosophical. I will discuss that independently. Now, if you look at it, the decision tree and things like that will become, for example, this is variable importance in random forest. So this is one type of explanation with visualization. The next one is case by case, localized, right? Case by case. This is nothing but what is called as local interpretation of machine learning, right? Or LIME or SHAP or such kind of thing, right? They're all good. They explain, but they explain in a different way. What we need is the didactic ones like this. So we want the didactic ones, but here alternate is not possible. The variable which has got the highest capability to discriminate will become the top variable. That is not correct. So I would like to have the rules. How can we have the rules is the question that we are trying to understand and research. That's where we are. So this is how we want the explanation to be given to us. Once the explanation are given to us, there are limitations to the current approach. The first of the limitation is cognitive complexity. So Miller's law, which is from psychology, says that we are comfortable with plus or minus 5. Right? Actually, it is called 5 plus or minus 2. It means that I can have 3 bits of information or 7 bits of information, but anything beyond 7, I cannot comprehend. Best is 3. Good is 1. 1 is good. Actually, when somebody says that everything is normal, it is 0 variables. Means that without any variable, you can say it is normal. Right? Impossible for us to have any natural system which is normal. There will be at least 1 variable is required to do something. But 3 variables are good. 1 is always good. 3 is better. 5 is okay. 7, more than 7 is not okay. The more number of neural network layers that you try to have, number of neurons within the layers you have, the explainability goes for a toss. The cognitive complexity increases. I don't think understanding the neural weights is important for me. It is like putting statistics on steroid and telling me, now you understand this. You are worried about statistics and blaming it. Now you understand trillion parameters. Earlier, I was giving 200 parameters in a linear regression. You are telling 200 parameters are not okay. Now you listen to 1 trillion parameters. I cannot understand that. Neither of that. Anything more than 7, I'm not interested. I would like to look at that. So most of these current systems have cognitive complexity. The second, computational complexity. Combinatorial explosions, right? Number of rules that you can derive from 5 variables, right? 1, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 combinations. It will be 5 factorial. So many rules are possible. Let's assume 200 variables are there. 200 factorial rules. Do you have to look into such kind of combinational exponent? We don't need explosive rules. We don't need them, right? Number 3 is complexity, feature-based. right? For example, Lime versus decision trees. Lime is good locally. It explains what is the, but to understand what is important, should I have to look through all 200 variables at once? That looks ridiculous. You tell me 3 variables, that is enough. What is the importance of those 3 variables? Like PCA, when you look at the principal component analysis, it says that if first 2 components can explain 80%, drop others. Pareto's law, 80-20, same thing here. If 2 variables can explain 80%, why do you need to show all other variables in line? That's the limitation. Decision tree, unstable, right? In fact, there is a special case of decision tree called as random trees. You need not have to generate decision trees using entropy, Gini, chi-square, and all those things. Take some variables, cut at some place, combine all of them, generate the tree. It is not even random forest. It is complete random trees. Still it works. Not that it will not, but that becomes feature-based complexity. That is also not good. Just because decision tree is good, it doesn't mean that random tree is good. Next is stability. They are all sensitive models. Decision tree is a sensitive model. Neural network is extremely sensitive model. People don't understand that part. So neural network is extremely sensitive because it is non-linear. Some moment here and there, rest of the things will change. That's what we call as the chaos theory, no? The butterfly flying its wing in Brazil will cause the rain in Bangladesh. We don't know the reason, but there is some connectivity. That chaos is not handled in neural networks. It is still unstable, very insensitive. Generalization. We are not interested. In fact, normally I give this example. You understand how to open a door. You go to some place, you don't find a handle. Don't you know how to open the door? Normally, in 80% of the cases, people are creative enough. Either they will push or they will pull or they will lift it up or push it down, do something and open the door. Once they understand, there is a kind of a layer that has been given which looks different. It might be a door. They try to open it in all the sense. And that is not possible with neural network. That creative testing is not there with any of these systems. Out of sample performance is not good. The reason is the variables are not handled properly. We will see that. I wanted to give all those things, but I wanted to give the bird's eye view of why fuzzy systems. Now, why we will not go with the current systems? Why we are going for fuzzy systems? Fuzzy systems is the way we think. For us, fuzzy is the way we try to use somebody is old. I know when you show me somebody is old, I will tell whether he is old or not. But I cannot say whether a 40-year-old man is old, 50-year-old man is old, 60-year-old man is old, 70-year-old, certainly 70-year-old man is old. 60, yeah, he is nearing old. 30, probably he is old enough, right? Where do we put that cutoff, right? Government has put off some cutoff like 18 years, you can vote. 18 years, 1 day you can vote. 17 years, 364 days, you cannot vote. Such kind of, I really don't understand. What is the difference between 17 years, 365 days, 18 years, 1 day? What is the difference? How much is the difference? Statistically, there is no difference. Isn't it? But still, government is government, they will put a cutoff. Right? In fact, normally we say that for any toxic material to be taken, put the cutoff age as 85 years. After 85, he is free to drink anything, he is free to smoke anything. Because they have enjoyed life, let them enjoy later. But anybody else should not be allowed. But they won't do that. They say that no, as long as revenue is coming, do something. They will put the age, 18 years and above can smoke. My God. I don't see the viability of the fuzzy expert system. Says that no, 18-year-old may be more mature than a 30-year-old. So when that maturity comes, how do we identify? That cutoff is very good in fuzzy systems. And I would like to see there are plenty of things in fuzzy systems, which is a parallel science to machine learning. It is not machine, it is artificial intelligence, but it is not machine learning. It is not deep learning. Like neural networks, it is a universal function approximator. It can approximate any function, discrete or continuous, any function, it can approximate. So how it does with multiple systems. I would like to go through all of them due to shortage of time. I think, Professor, I have another 15 minutes. Let me try to complete them. Fuzzy is very clear. The way we would like to go with fuzzy expert system is we have what is called as the graded membership. So it is not like somebody is mature after 18. In fact, recently I was having some conversation with some of my friends. Yeah, they were telling anybody who is a graduate is educated. I said, oh my God, So education has nothing to do with graduation. They are literate. They know how to read and write. But education is totally different. So they are not ready because government has declared anybody, any graduate is an educated person. Right? How? It cannot be. I can purchase a PhD degree. Does it make me educated? No, that's not possible. So a specific categorical cutoff is dangerous. That's no way human can accept it. Right? Now the joke is when do you call somebody as bald? Right? You call somebody as bald, how many hairs are required? Nobody tells me that. You show somebody, they say whether he's bald or not. Right? So human have the fuzzy nature inherently. As a second nature, we think like that. But the thing is, we are not formalized it. When they formalized it, it became a separate field. But due to certain reasons, the cultural non-acceptance of duality of the existence and non-existence, which is possible in fuzzy logic, which is not possible in ordinary logic. They say, no, a pen can be a pen or not a pen. Can pen be a weapon? No, they say pen cannot be a weapon. So even in court, if you snap somebody's eyes with pen, it is not taken as weapon. It is pen only. Because we have built that with Aristotelian logic. A can be A or not A, but it cannot be both at the same time. And that is violated in fuzzy logic. Actually, we don't say it is violated because we are going with that. We say that it is relaxed in fuzzy logic. So it can have some kind of graded membership, not 0 or 1. It can be anything between 0 and 1. That's the first thing. The second thing, beauty of fuzzy logic, I'm not getting into fuzzy arithmetic, fuzzy topology, fuzzy geometry. No, I'm not talking about. I'm very specific about what we call as computing with words in fuzzy logic. And that is built on linguistic variables. So linguistic variables is what differentiates fuzzy systems from other systems. All other systems work on, numeric maths. We work on linguistic math. All operations on linguistic variables is different than that is on the numeric variables. Now the question is, no, everything is numeric, everything is analog. How do you do that? We try to convert any space, right? Any real space or integer space into linguistic space using some kind of membership function. It can be triangular, it can be trapezoidal, it can be yes, it can be z, blah, 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 hundreds, right? As a PhD, you can build one more membership function and optimize it using neural network, right? But that will not change anything. The idea is try to build your universe using linguistic variables. Once the linguistic variables are there, you build everything explicitly as the rule. In fact, normally I will take that challenge. I will teach anybody to build a self-driving car in 4 hours using fuzzy systems. Build a washing machine in 4 hours. You will build literally, right? Because it is so easy to build, and that's why it is called as cocaine of science. People say that don't use this. You will lose the whole stuff because whatever we have built so far in 2000 years is gone for a toss. Because everything can be explained with just words. That's not okay, but it's okay. We are engineers. We are not academicians, right? Engineers, we don't care. So normally for us, it is more like, how can we build a system which is useful? For us, there is nothing called as right or wrong. There is something called as useful or useless. You can be very much right, but useless. What is the use of it? Right? Good for nothing. So we would like to go with computing with words. Next is, there is some, kind of arrangement between Boolean logic or Aristotelian logic and the fuzzy logic. So AND is minimum of X and Y. Very clear. Minimum of 1 and 1 is 1. 1 and 1 is 1 in Boolean logic. In fuzzy logic, 1 and 1 is 1. But 0.5 and 1 is 0.5. Beauty of that. Right? In fact, that's why some of the problems, paradoxes like there are no liars in Crete. Right? Or all Christians are liars told by a creed. Well, for example, you can take Indians. Any Indian who says Indian says no Indian is no, or every Indian is a liar. If an Indian says that, can you believe that? That is a paradox, and that paradox can be easily solved. 0.5, 0.5, right? And we will move to another system called as Bayesian belief system, where we try to take that belief, and when the new incidence comes, we try to update our belief. We'll see that later. So the Approximate reasoning is happening like this. This is exact reasoning. We'll move towards approximate reasoning. Then, so we will get into all of this firing at once, not only one rule. All the rules will be fired at once. Then I will get somebody is good, somebody is bad, somebody is really bad. I will aggregate all of that and try to find the degree, and this is called as defuzzification. Because again, I had to bring back to the normal real space or the integer space. So when I want to bring that, I would like to convert that into defuzzification. So this is the expert system that, in fact, one of the speakers is likely to speak about this later. So with this, we will get into building the expert systems. These tools are available. In fact, using these tools only, we will build within 4 hours, we can build any system. Just it requires how you would like to do that. Next is fuzzy segmentation. This is nothing but extension of the k-means, but the only difference is a particular item can belong to this, and this, all the 3 classes at once. For example, you can see this. If I go for k-means, it belongs to this class, belongs to this cluster or this cluster. But when you use fuzzy, it can belong to this cluster by this much, this cluster by this much, this cluster by this much. So this kind of possibility is what we are looking at here. If you go for exact classification, we call it as mutually exclusive. So normally they say, no, so you are with me or you're against me. Good, that is good for argument, but it is not go for coexistence. For coexistence, this is a better method. So fuzzy C-means is the segmentation that we would like to apply. It explains well, right? Next is fuzzy classifiers and regressors. In fact, this has been done. I still remember I went to one power corporation where they were, where I wanted to say fuzzy logic, we built blah, blah, blah. He said, boss, I am using Takagi Sugeno's system for last 5 years. Tell me what is extra that you have done. I was shocked. It's not that it is new. Neural network is new. They ask the same question. Show me how it is better than what I'm using. It is not. It will not explain. It will give something. But accuracy is not what they are looking at. Right? One of the problem with the fuzzy classifiers is high complexity. It's also called as intersection rule configuration because it goes with what is called as conjunctives, A and B, A and B and C. And is the problem. When the and comes, the rule explosion is huge. If there are 200 variable group is there or 200 features are there, the longest rule will have 200 variables. Who cares for 200 variables? I prefer neural network, right? Rather than understanding a 200 variable rule, I prefer a neural network which tells me to do something. That's not the way. So the rule configuration is very difficult. That's why most of the fuzzy systems have failed when the number of variables crosses 5. They are not good because the rule explosion is very high. They don't trust it, right? So instead of classification, you put regression, it becomes fuzzy regression. The way we try to do it is, first we will generate a model, then select the model because there are multiple rules will be generated. We'll select the best model, then go for rule fusion, right? One advantage here is it's a white box model. It explains everything. Even if it is a 200 rule and with and, it explains that. But also it is less sensitive to outliers. It won't say that it is Elon Musk, I won't go with him, I'm a socialist. No, they can coexist. In machine learning, we call it as binning. When you bin them, anybody above 1,000 or 20 million, they are same. Between 500 and 1,000, that is one group. Less than 500, one group, 3 groups. Fuzzy system has made that very clear. I can coexist. That's a good thing. But rule explosion is a NP-hard problem. It's not NH-hard, it is NP-hard problem. Non-polynomial hard problem. In a polynomial time, we cannot find all the rules that are possible. So that's the big problem. The next one is fuzzy time series. One of the things in time series is we had to depend on a lot of things. First, we had to remove seasonality. Then we had to remove cyclicity. Then we had to remove any randomness and stationarity. We had to make them static or stationary. And then we had to build the trend. So many assumptions, right? So fuzzy systems, fuzzy time series will become assumption free. No assumptions, no assumptions. You show me anything. Why? Because it is universal function approximator. It can approximate any function. And it's a white box model. It tells me why it is doing so. It's very easy for me to understand. It is less sensitive to outliers. Fuzzy time series is another alternative that is available to us. Instead of machine learning, instead of statistical modeling, fuzzy time series is another method that's available for us. The next one is fuzzy URC system. That's one of the most controversial system. because whatever the system that you have seen so far have been built by academics and has been used by industry. This system has been built by an industry, non-PhD, non-academic. His name is William Coombe, and he is from Boeing, an engineer with just a BS, right? Don't treat it in a different way. It is Bachelor of Science in Engineering, right? So he built this system. So it is based on a very simple thing. It uses the law of conjunctions, inclusivity of conjunctions. So it says that if A and B is true, right, then A is true and B is true, then only A and B becomes true. It means that if A is true or B is true, that is also true. It is not just this. When this is true, A or B is also true. And he uses this conjuncture. A is true or B is true. Now, A is true can be taken separately, B is true can be taken separately. And the conjunction has been converted to disjunction. And this is how they try to remove the rule explosion. In fact, the beauty of this system is if you have 200 variables, there are only 200 rules. Each rule will have only one variable antecedent. One variable antecedent. That is the basic problem. So linear growth of rules, 200 variables, 200 rules, one rule per variable, done, very easy. Those are the advantages. Disadvantages, very abstract. I cannot explain. I'm not a domain expert. I cannot explain how boiler is working, how heart is working, how a chemical process is working. I cannot explain. But whatever the data you have provided, this data says if X is low, your outcome is low. I don't know why. This is the evidence. It gives the evidence, it gives the abstract rules. Then they have to find the domain reason why it is so. That's the beauty of it. Sometimes they say that it will not learn, do all those things, but now since 20 years, they have come out with what is called as the multi-layer. We will not go more than one layer, right? Maximum 2 layers, but 95% of the systems are 1 layer fuzzy systems. So this will, revolutionize things, but this will not be accepted because there is no money in this. You cannot make money with this. When everybody understands, where is the value? When nobody understands, huge value, right? That's why they say no to drop a nuclear bomb, no discussions. But to build old age home, everybody starts. It is children's responsibility. It is state's responsibility. It is center's responsibility. But dropping a nuke, no. Go and drop the nuke. We will see later. People will die now, right? Easier things. So this is very easy. Anybody can do. It's very easy to do. So that's why people are not ready, right? So take it with a pinch of salt. I'm happy to see that any arguments against this, but my argument is with the inventors of Bill Coombe and team. We have done this and we agree with that. Anybody else had to disprove this is wrong. We can share the code, we can do that, but you have to show this is not working, then we will share the code. Otherwise, it should not be replicated. Not that we do not want to. Code is available in publicly everywhere. You can see that, right? So URC system is what we are looking at. Next is fuzzy causal models. In fact, this actually is the cocaine of the science. Now, you can explain this with one history book or one article. What happens when there is a migration in the city can be explained with one complete 20-page article or things like that, or with a simple map. When the modernization happens, what happens to sanitation? It improves. When sanitation improves, the disease reduces. Why disease reduces? The bacteria per area reduces. When bacteria reduces, disease reduces. Very easy. Now, if you want to control, you just see these three. Which is the control point? Sanitation facilities. The sanitation facilities. Give good drinking water, right? Any tap water, if it is potable, there is no disease, no corona, nothing, right? I cannot say, I'm not a medical doctor, but controversy can be created, right? So no bacteria, though corona is viral, right? Bacteria is not there. So this is enough. Improve it rather than doing all the emotional drama and all those things. Just look at this map. It is so easy to understand. Anybody can understand. No mathematical model. Actually, this is called as associative neural network. In fuzzy system, this is called as fuzzy cognitive map. In fact, we teach when we build analytics, we say that how finance is affecting HR, how HR is affecting production, how production is affecting sales. Anything can be mapped to anything else. And this is dangerous because E is equal to MC square can be easily explained here. When the mass increases, energy increases. Why do you worry about C? C is constant, right? Why it is needed? Einstein has a problem because he wanted to prove E is equal to MC square. We do not want to do that. We want to understand when the energy will be more, when the mass is more. Simple, right? That becomes our fuzzy concept cognitive model. And this is, in fact, implementing it as a neural network as simple linear algebra thing, which is nothing but an adjacency matrix, right? We can loop through this adjacency matrix and update this matrix until it becomes stable. So there is plenty of material available for how to learn fuzzy causal models using adjacency matrix, simple things, right? You can use R or Python and you can build that. It's not a big thing. You can build these things, and we want this to be taught in first standard. What happens when a child crosses the road without zebra crossing? It crosses wherever they want. What happens? The child should know. Child should be able to build a causal model. Then it knows everything. We are not ready to teach that because our teaching has to be approved by CBSE, ICSE, state government, everybody. Common sense is not accepted. Fuzzy cognitive map goes with common sense. Let the child build its own model and test it. That's what we are interested in. The next model is very important. It is called as a neurofuzzy system. In this case, neural network is very good in learning. No doubt about the learning capabilities of neural networks. We never contended neural network is not learning. We said its accuracy is far superior than any fuzzy system. But it is very bad in explaining it. Fuzzy logic is very good in explaining it. Can we combine explainability with learning capabilities? We call that as a neurofuzzy system. ANFIS is a neurofuzzy system. You can build neurofuzzy networks. You can build knowledge-based neural networks. All of them are nothing but the neurofuzzy systems. So this is another area where research can happen and happening and likely to continue in the future, right? The last one, which we are also interested is fuzzy logic addresses one type of uncertainty. It is called as the perception uncertainty or linguistic uncertainty. When somebody is bald, when 1 kg sugar is taken, exactly 1.00000 to what level of decimal places? 20,000 decimal places, then only you call it as 1 kg sugar. Will you not take sugar when it is 1 kg, 5 grams? Will you not accept it? Will the shopkeeper say, no, I want 1 kg only? They will never do it. Even if it is 995, he will give it, you will take it. Even if it is 1,005, he will give it, we will take it. But will you ever accept or will you ever see a shopkeeper giving 1.5 kg as 1 kg? Are you accepting 500 grams as 1 kg? No. At some point, it is graded. 995, we still treat as 1 kg. 100,005 grams, still we treat it as 1 kg. There's a gradation. That is linguistic uncertainty. We are not very sure when 1 kg is 1 kg. Even if you bring the scale that is there in Paris, it is called as SI Institute. If you bring scale from there and measure it, we don't know to what decimal place people will agree. In India, we are very happy in disagreeing, right? I don't agree. You put any number of zeros. I want one more zero after that, right? So we don't agree, but we agree on what is 1 kg. We have no qualms. We are not discussing anything. 1 kg, yeah, I agree, right? But we don't take 800 grams as 1 kg, right? We don't take 1,200 grams as 1 kg. Shopkeeper will not take 1,200 grams as 1 kg, right? So there is disagreement between buyer and seller, right? So that is linguistic uncertainty, perception uncertainty. It has nothing to do with randomness. But the second case is there. Second case is whether it rains tomorrow or not. That is random uncertainty. Random uncertainty is because of my ignorance. I don't have the knowledge what is likely to happen tomorrow based on the variables. There is no certainty. My knowledge is weak. Because of that, there is uncertainty. That is randomness. When I combine the perceptive uncertainty or linguistic uncertainty with Bayesian uncertainty or the random uncertainty, we get the fuzzy Bayesian systems. The beauty of fuzzy Bayesian system is they are incrementally can be developed. My belief changes. Normally what happens, you go to a doctor, he feels you have fever and he recommends paracetamol. He will not simply say, now they are telling you go and get 25 tests done. But generally a doctor says, go with paracetamol. After 3 days, you come back. After 3 days, if you come back, if the still fever persists, he asks you for certain tests. And tests become negative. He says that nothing, it is flu, just go with paracetamol. If he finds something, then he tries to treat it. So you observe that. In the first, he assumed the prior belief is fever. Next 3 days, he did not believe you don't have fever. You just fever, common fever, go ahead. But subsequently, when the report came, you didn't add anything, right? Everything was negative. His belief that you have just fever is confirmed. On the other side, If I have something which is, let us say that I have XYZ fever due to typhoid or diphtheria or possibly some kind of tonsillitis, he will try to treat it with antibiotic. Now his belief that that fever is not cold, is not just simple fever, but it is due to tonsillitis, it has to be treated with antibiotic. His belief changes. That belief change is called as posteriori. We try to take a prior information. A priori information is, it is just fever. Conditional information is added. The tests are positive and now he has got tonsillitis. Now his posterior becomes, okay, my earlier belief was wrong. The new belief is he has tonsillitis, right? Subsequently, if the tonsillitis is not cured, then he goes for some more tests, his belief changes. So that is a belief management system. So combining these two is a very powerful system and very, very, useful in medical, cyber security and types of things. In fact, for me, a neural network in cyber security may not be a good thing. A fuzzy Bayesian system is a good thing, right? It is model based, it learns, it explains, it does everything. You ask any security guy, cyber security guy, if you say that my neural network told me this is an attack, he will laugh at you because he needs explanation. It has to explain why it is taking this as an attack. Then only he will accept it. So fuzzy Bayesian is another area which is very interesting and can be used for explanation. So if you look at it, we are proposing the fuzzy systems and its variants as an alternative to explainable AI, right? So it can be used and it is easier to develop. So anybody who is interested, you can always join hands with us. And we would like to collaborate and build a collaborative system in place, right? Where India is very bad with that, right? We do not want to listen to others. We do not want to agree with others. We do not want to participate with others. But certainly my take is we should, right? Fuzzy logic says that coexistence is the beauty, right? So with this, I would like to show one case study where we are done. This basically is about the employee performance. Generally, employee performance at the end of the year, manager will come and say, this performance is 4, this performance is 3. So how he does that? If he likes him, it is 5. If we don't like him, it is 2. Now we are telling that may not be correct. Try to objectively measure wherever it is possible, right? And second thing is we expect the experienced people to solve more complex problems. Is it happening? We would like to question it because we want to question everything. And any deviation has to be escalated so that some kind of intervention can happen. For this, we did some work. In fact, these were the objectives. What we did was we took the experience, the complexity of the problems that are solved, the efforts, how much time they have spent on solving those problems, and what type of defects they did. So when we carried out these exercises, what we did was we built a neural network and we used the computing with words, the fuzzy logic paradigm, to convert the effort space, the experience space, which all of them are numbers. We convert them into the linguistic variables. Once we did this, we did some exploration. We did the self-organizing maps. Then we found 3 cluster is giving much better results than other clusters operations. So once we did this, we found that highly experienced people are solving low complexity problems. Is that good? That's a question. In fact, they could have done this, but actually automatically the system found this. And look at it. Low experienced people are solving high complexity problems and medium complexity problems. It means that the young kids who are joining the company are doing much better than the seniors and tech leads. For us, it is questionable. It's up to the management to decide. But now if I give this, they may say, okay, it's all number crunching, blah, blah, that's okay. But what we did was we converted all of these numbers into the linguistic variables, the didactic or analytical explanations. Now, if you look at it, low experience, medium complexity, low experience, high complexity, high experience, low complexity. Very easy to understand what is happening in the system. This is the profile. Low experienced people are solving medium and high complexity problems. High experienced people are solving low complexity problems. Do you want to see this? In fact, this actually is the linguistic explanation of this number. Right? This number is explained linguistically using fuzzy logic like this. Now I want to intervene. My experience is highly experienced people should go for high complexity, but actually it contradicts. High experienced people are going with low complexity. The intervention is required. And this is what we call as discovery. And discovery is much easier without needing any kind of reinterpretation of the numbers, data science degree, PhD, and all those things. Just apply this, you will get it. And this is what we call as explainability. So same thing, what is given here is explained better here. And this is what we are looking at. So this is how we would like to use explainability, and this is our approach. So I will end this. In fact, I thank the organizers for giving the opportunity and the audience, right? If there are any errors or kind of plagiarism, or if you feel controversy, please feel free to blame me, right? Thank you. I will end this session here. If you have any questions, please let me know. Yeah, I see some. Yeah. Please feel free if you have any questions.
Any questions? Any questions from the audience side?
Thank you.
Okay, sir. No queries, sir.
Okay. So it has gone above the head.
Okay, sir. On behalf of the organizing committee, it gives me immense pleasure in delivering the vote of thanks for this session. I would like to extend my gratitude to our speaker, Dr. Jay Baldesimha, CTO of Abiba Systems, Bangalore, for his thought-provoking session on fuzzy data mining for explainable AI. Thank you, sir, for giving us deep insights into the topic. And also, you have given us more informative ideas about fuzzy data mining. I'm pretty sure the precious knowledge shared with us will definitely help all of us in exploring the concepts in future. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will drop off.
We'll have the next session now.
Hello, am I audible? Hello, am I audible? Hello, hello.
Yes, sir. You are inaudible, sir. You are inaudible, sir.
Good. Can you share my screen? Can you share my screen?
So shall I start the session, sir?
Yeah, can I share the screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So good evening to everyone. A warm welcome to all of you to the afternoon session of the National Conference on Contemporary Mathematics and Applications, organized by PG and Research. Excuse me, sir. 1 minute. Okay, sir. We are able to see your screen, sharing your screen, sir.
Yeah, but is it coming? But I am not able to see the screen. 1 minute.
But we can able to see the screen, sir.
Am I not able to see the screen? 1 minute. Let me come out and then again let me come in. Now are you able to see?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a full screen.
Yes, sir.
Are you able to see the full screen? Okay, fine.
Okay, sir. Shall I start, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening to everyone. A warm welcome to all of you to the afternoon session of the National Conference on Contemporary Mathematics and Applications, organized by PG and Research Department of Mathematics, Dwarakadas Govardhan Das Vaishnav College. There is geometry in the humming of the strings. There is a music in the spacing of the spheres, so said by Pythagoras. Today is the wonderful day. We have our well-experienced speaker in this afternoon session. On behalf of the organizing committee, it is a great moment of extreme pleasure to welcome the resource person, Dr. Balasubramanian or he was a retired professor, former head and director of the Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Chennai. He is going to discuss the topic of elliptic curve cryptology. He has pursued his PhD in mathematics from the University of Bombay in 1979, and his specialization is analytical number theory. Not only in that, he is also expert in the topics of geometry, coding theory, and cryptography. He was held in various positions in his field. He was a visiting member, research assistant, fellow, and reader in Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Mumbai. Sir has received many awards in national and international level. So the awards are Young Scientist Award, Indian National Science Academy, Young Associate of Indian Academy of Sciences, B.M. Birla Award, S.S. Bhatnagar Award, Srinivasa Ramanujam Birth Sanitary Award of Indian Science Congress. In the year 2006, Sir has received a Padma Shri Award from our former president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Sir. Fellow of the American Mathematical Society in 2012, the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2013. He was also a president of Cryptographic Research Society of India in Kolkata. He has published more than 156 papers. He has done the project in pseudo-random sequences in 2006. He was a plenary speaker from India at ICM in 2010. This session focuses on elliptic curve cryptology. Now, I hand over this session to Dr. R. Balasubramanian, sir. Sir, please continue the session, sir.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the nice invitation
Thank you.
and also a nice introduction.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let me say something about this elliptical cryptology. Now, I'm not sure how many of the participants know what cryptology is and what is this elliptical cryptology. Therefore, let me start with what is cryptology or what is called a cryptography. The cryptography is the practice and study of techniques for securing communications and data in the presence of adversaries. That means that you want to send a message and you know that this somebody else may be tapping the message, but whoever is tapping the message, you do not really want him to understand the message. That's all what cryptography means. Therefore, Alice takes a message, and in all our application, by a message, you will mean a number. Okay. And again, most of you would have known that if you have a message written in the English alphabets, for example, there is always an ASCII code, which would essentially give you the message in the English alphabet to a number. And conversely, given a number, you can make it into a message in the English alphabet. Therefore, Alice takes a message, and which is a positive integer, and this message is called the plain text, and encrypts the message using her encryption key. Therefore, everybody has a key, and using the key, you encrypt the message. And whatever she gets, that is called a ciphertext. And then she sends the ciphertext to Bob. Okay, and Bob uses his decryption key D to get the original message. Therefore, this is essentially what is going on. Therefore, there's a plain message, and which is converted to the ciphertext by using a certain key E, and the ciphertext goes to the plain message using the inverse key. Whatever that you are doing for the plain message, you just do the inversion, and that is called D. And now this cryptology actually has essentially two major divisions. One, what is called a symmetric key, and another, what is called asymmetric key. From a mathematical point of view, if the intruder, say Oscar, can easily guess D from the knowledge of C, then it is called a symmetric key. Okay, and that is not too surprising in the sense that suppose you know the encryption key, you have to only reverse it. Therefore, you reverse the encryption key, then you get the decryption key. And if suppose that process is easy, then you call it a symmetric key. But there are situations where the process is rather difficult. Even though you have the encryption key, it is not so easy to find out the decryption key. And that security depends upon the fact that in that case, you don't even mind if Oscar happens to know the encryption key. Because even if he knows the encryption key, then he cannot decode it. On the other hand, for the symmetric key, if Oscar knows either the encryption key or the decryption key, that is perfect with him, because then he can always get the decryption key. If he has a decryption key, he has it. And if he has an encryption key, he can always invert it. And therefore, in that sense, the symmetric key is safe only if the intruder does not know either E or D. But on the other hand, suppose it is computationally difficult to get the D. Therefore, I am giving you the encryption key. What is the key which I am going to I am using to encrypt it. But on the other hand, you know that it is the inverse of this message. But the inverse of this message is inverse of this map. Suppose it is computationally very difficult to find out. Then it is called an asymmetric key. And in this case, even if Oscar knows C, he cannot really decode. And in the whole talk, we will be talking only about asymmetric key or the so-called public key. Because that is somewhat counterintuitive. Suppose I know the key by which you have encrypted a message, I have to only invert it. And the inversion should not be very difficult because I know what the key that you have used for encryption. And in fact, let me give you some examples. There's a folklore conjecture that you have this E and D, and you don't even need them to be a map from the plain text to the ciphertext. Suppose you have a map F from A to B, any set A to any set B. And suppose it is true that the computation of F is rather easy, but the computation of F inverse is difficult. In other words, if I give you an element A in A, and if I want you to compute F of A, that is very easy. But if I give you an element B in B, and I want you to compute F inverse of B, and that is very difficult. Suppose that is the case, then you can actually make a crypto system out of it. Okay, therefore that's a folklore conjecture. And therefore we are not even going to even talk about cryptology. We are not even going to talk about what is a plain message, what is a ciphertext, etc. What we are going to discuss is, are there maps F from some set A to some set B such that computation of F is easy. If I give you an element A in A, you can easily compute F of A. But computation of F inverse is very difficult. If I give you an element B in B, then finding out F inverse B is rather difficult. And I will give an example. I will start with the second example because the second example came around, I think, 4 years later than the first example. But the first example is a little more mathematically complicated. Therefore, I will postpone it and I will give the second example, which is somewhat easy. What all I am now trying to do is to get a map F from a set A to a set B such that computation of F is easy and the computation of F inverse is difficult. These are called one-way functions. Okay, therefore, let me give one example. Let P be the set of prime numbers. And F is a map, the Cartesian product P cross P to the natural numbers. Therefore, F is a map from P cross P to the natural numbers. And how does that map works? it takes two elements P and Q, two primes P and Q, multiplies and gives you the n. Now it takes P and Q, multiplies and gets you the n. That is what F does. And therefore, F is a map which is normally called multiplication. You have two primes P and Q. What F does, it takes this pair P and Q and multiplies and gives you the n. And what is F inverse? Which means that you are given the n and you have to find out the P and Q. Okay, given the n, to find out the P and Q, that is what is called factorization. Factorizing n means that given the n, you want to get the P and Q. Now, what I claimed was computation of F is rather easy and the computation of F inverse is rather difficult. And is it true in this case? Let us simply do that. Suppose P and Q are primes which are around 20 digit primes. Therefore, P and Q are around 10 power 20. And if P and Q are 20 digit primes, then computing F, which means that I am given the P, I am given the Q, and then I have to take the product of P and Q, and that computation probably will take 1 minute by a pocket calculator. You are given a 20-digit number and another 20-digit number, just enter the two numbers, and once you enter the two numbers and multiply, that's all, you get the result, and that is 1 minute. Now, on the other hand, given this number n, you want to factorize it, you want to get your P and Q, how much time will it take? Well, how do we normally factorize the n? The way to factorize the n is that we check whether this n is divisible by the primes which are less than square root of n. This is probably what all of you might have learned in your high school, that in order to factorize a number, you have to only look at the divisibility by primes which are less than the square root of n. And now your P is around 20-digit number, Q is 20-digit number, and therefore the product is around 40-digit number, and the square root of the product will be around 20-digit number. Therefore, you may have to check the divisibility by all primes which are less than 10 power 20. And if you are now trying to look at the divisibility by primes less than 10 power 20, how much time will it take? Because you see, F we computed in 1 minute. F inverse computation, what is the time that it will take? First of all, we should know how many primes are there up to 10 power 20. Okay, because then each prime we have to divide. Therefore, first the question to know is how many primes are there, and then what time it will take really to divide by each one of those primes and to finally get n is equal to P times Q. Now there is something called prime number theorem, which was conjectured by Gauss and which was proved by Riemann, and which had a small gap in it, and which was filled by Delaval-Poisson. And that theorem, say Hadamard and Delaval-Poisson, and that theorem says that the number of primes up to a given number capital X, the number of primes up to a given number capital X is around x over log x. Therefore, again, I think most of you would have known that there is no exact formula for the number of primes. Okay, therefore, if you am giving you a number like 1 lakh, and if you want to know whether there is how many primes are there up to 1 lakh, most of you would have known that there is really no formula to get that. And therefore, what you will get is an approximate formula only. And the approximate formula is that if you are interested in the number of primes up to x, then the number is around x over log x. And remember that this logarithm is to the base g. Normally, if you are a mathematician, a mathematics student, you will take the logarithms to the base 10. And if you are a computer science student, then you will take the logarithm to the base 2. But this logarithm is to the base g. And now let's see. Therefore, how many primes are there up to square root of n? As we just now calculated, square root of 10n is around 10 power 20. Since the square root of n is around 10 power 20, we should know how many primes are there up to 10 power 20. And there's already this formula that the number of primes is around x over log x. And consequently, the number of primes up to square root of n is 10 power 20 divided by the logarithm of 10 power 20. And the logarithm of 10 power 20 is 20 times the logarithm of 10. And this logarithm of 10, again recall that it has to be taken to the base e. And when you do the calculation, it will give you a number which is a little bigger than 10 power 18. Thus, you see that the number of primes up to 10 power 20 is at least as big as 10 power 18. And suppose, therefore, you have to perform 10 power 18 divisions. And now assume that your computer does 1000 divisions per second. If your computer does 1000 divisions per second, and if you have to do 10 power 18 divisions, then in order to do the 10 power 18 divisions, then when you do the calculations, I will leave it to you that how much, if I have a computer which does 1000 divisions per second, and if I have to do 10 power 18 divisions, then you can check that it will take a little more than 10 years. Okay. Therefore, F, a calculation of F takes 1 minute, and the calculation of F inverse takes a little more than 10 years. Therefore, practically, you can say that this is in fact a one-way function. Computation of F is rather easy, and the computation of F inverse is rather difficult. And the crypto system was really constructed, a public key crypto system, which means a system in which even if the intruder knows what is the key that has been used to encrypt the message, will not be able to find out the key which is needed to decrypt the message. Therefore, there's only one thing is known, which is the encoding key also he knows, but still he cannot find out the decoding, because F he knows, he has to get the F inverse, and the F inverse, as we just saw, is essentially would take a long time. And that particular system, which was developed by Rivers, Shamir, and Adleman, is called an RSA crypto system. And I am sure most of you would have heard about that, because that's the easiest crypto system. And if you want all your digital signature and whatnot, etc., that's the system that you will be using. Now I will give you the first example. The first example, which is due to Diffie-Hellman, and this example due to Diffie-Hellman predates RSA by a couple of years. Therefore, this was done at 4 years. RSA was 1978 and Diffie-Hellman was 1974. It was done 4 years back. And what is that? And in fact, Diffie and Hellman were not even doing yet this encryption system. They were not interested. I mean, they initially did not plan it as an encryption system. They planned it as a key exchange. Therefore, that is the next word which I have to explain. What is the key exchange and how this key exchange really helps you in your encryption system, which you do not want an eavesdropper, you do not want an intruder. Even if he taps the message, he should not be able to get the message. Okay. Now, the following scenario is known. Suppose there are two crypto systems you are using. One is a strong system, and a strong system, but in which you are changing the keys frequently. Therefore, today you use one key, tomorrow you use another key, third day you use a different key, and so on and so forth. Or a very, very strong crypto system where you use the same. And out of these two, which one is better? A strong system where you are using the key, you are frequently changing the key, is it better? Or a very strong system where you are using the same key, is it better? Then it is known that A is actually better. That is essentially because even if you are using a very strong system, if you use the same strong system and use the same key, then the intruder gets lots of data. And once, because today whatever you are doing, he knows that that is the key, and tomorrow what you are going to do, that is the same key. Day after tomorrow, what you are going to do, that is the same key, and that is the data. And therefore, and once he has a lot of data, he can do a lot. But on the other hand, if you are changing the key daily, and therefore he doesn't get enough data, and then you cannot do it much. And now suppose, let us assume that Alice decides to change the keys daily. Okay, that's not a bad idea. Therefore, I know that if I am following strong crypto system, not a very strong, and therefore I should change the key, and therefore decide to change the key. But having decided to change the key, how does Alice communicate this information? If there has been a secure mode by which she could send the information, then of course she doesn't even need the all this cryptography, encryption, anything at all. If there's a secure mode by which she can send the information, she would have sent the information by the secure mode. The matter ends there. It is only because that she does not have a secure mode. It is only because she knows that there is an adversary who would tap the message. Therefore, she has a problem, and therefore she has to depend upon cryptology. Therefore, this key also she has to send. And if the key, the intruder is able to get the key when she sends Alice sends the key to Bob, then there is nothing for him. And then whatever message that comes using the key, he will be able to decrypt it. And therefore, the point is, therefore, I am not even interested in sending the whole message in a safely in an encrypted system. First, I have to send the key somehow safely. And then I can use that key to encode my messages and send it to Bob. And tomorrow I'm going to do the same thing. I take a different key and somehow I send it to Bob safely and then use the key for the whole day to send all my bulk messages. And that is what is called a key exchange. In other words, the point which we are trying to say is that we are not encrypting the whole message, but we just want to send a key. And that is what they suggested. And that is what is called the key exchange. And the point is, and one of the reasons why it did not become that famous is the mathematics that is involved there is somewhat deeper than the mathematics which was needed for RSA. RSA was talking about really prime numbers and the multiplication of prime numbers. But the mathematics that Diffie and Hellman needed was a little more. And this is just some group theory. And again, I am assuming that all of you know some group theory. Let G be a cyclic group generated by an element G. I am assuming that all of you know what a cyclic group is and what is a generator. Alice takes a number A and sends G power A to Bob. Therefore, she takes 7, for example. And then she takes, first of all, there's a cyclic group G and a generator little g. And she takes a number 7, computes G power 7, and sends a G power 7 to Bob. Bob takes some other number, 23, and computes G power 23 and sends that message to Alice. Therefore, Alice sends to Bob G power 7, and Bob sends to Alice G power 23. And then they calculate G power AB, G power 7 into 23, they calculate. And that is the key. Okay, now I have to say why Bob can compute this G power 7 into 23, why Alice can compute G power 7 into 23, but Oscar, who saw the G power 7 going from Alice to Bob, that he has already tapped, and therefore he has a G power 7 with him. He has also seen the G power 23, which goes from Bob to Alice, and that also he has. Therefore, he has G power 7. He knows G, he knows G power 7, he knows G power 23, but I am now claiming that this G, he cannot still compute G power 7 into 23. Okay. Okay. And whereas Bob and Alice can compute G power 7 into 23, but Alice cannot, Oscar cannot get it. 7 into 23 happens to be 161. Therefore, the knowledge of what I am saying is the knowledge of G power 7 and G power 23 will not enable Oscar to get G power 161. Okay, that's the mathematics. Yes, a slightly complicated, slightly advanced mathematics, but let me talk about that. How does Alice compute the key? Okay, because she has received the G power B from Bob. Bob has sent her the G power B. And A is a number which she herself created. Since she created A and she received G power B from Bob, she takes the G power B which comes from Bob rises to the power A, her number, and then she gets G power AB. How does Bob compute G power AB? He has received G power A from allies, and therefore he has a G power A, and then B is his own number. He computes it, that is G power AB. Okay, but now what about Oscar? Oscar knows G power A, G power B, but he does not know A or B because allies thought about A and he kept to herself. She did not send any A to anybody, and therefore she kept to herself, and therefore Oscar does not know A. And similarly, Oscar does not know B because Bob thought of B, but he kept to himself and he did not send to. Remember, they sent only G power A and G power B. They did not send the A or B. Now I want to say that he cannot find out K. Okay, let's just give an example so that the whole thing would be clear. Okay, you know, Z over PZ is an additive group. Z over PZ is an additive group. That is, it's a group which is, and the group binary operation of the group is an addition modulo P. Now, if you look at Z over PZ star, which simply means the non-zero elements of that, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. up to P minus 1. And then that itself also forms a group under multiplication. The non-zero elements modulo P form a group under multiplication, and that's an abelian group. And what is a little surprising, that is in fact a cyclic group. This is probably most of you would have studied, okay? And the proof is not too difficult if you have not seen it before. The point is that if P is a prime, and if you look at the non-zero elements modulo P, then forms a group under multiplication, and that group is a cyclic group. For example, you take the prime P, which is 257, and you look at Z over 257Z star, which means that you are looking at the non-zero elements modulo 257, and then that is a multiplicative group, and it is known that that group is generated by 3. In other words, if you look at 3, 3 square, 3 cubed, 3 power 4, 3 power 5, etc., all the way up to 3 power 256, that will give you all the group elements. That is what the generator means, that every element can be written as a power of the generator. And let's now assume Alice takes A equal to 46, and therefore Alice computes G power A, and G is 3 for her, and A is 46, and she computes 3 power 46 in the group G. 3 power 46 in the group G is the same as saying 3 power 46 modulo 247. And I am very pretty sure that all of you know what a congruence means, and what does it mean to say that A is congruent to B modulo M, and therefore I am not going to talk about them. Therefore, what you need is essentially 3 power 46 modulo 257, and that is what she sends to Bob. And now the point is, how much time will it take for her to compute 3 power 46 modulo 257? And probably you would expect around 92 steps at least, okay, because you have to multiply 3 and then 3 and then 3 and then take modulo 47. And remember, you cannot hope to get all the way up to 3 power 46 and look at modulo 257 simply because when you calculate 3 power 46, your packet calculator would say that there are too many digits and it won't even work. Therefore, you cannot even have such a big number. Therefore, but what you need to do is to actually compute 3 power 46, and for that number, you want to compute that and divide by 257, and then compute what is the remainder. Okay, but that is not that difficult, which is what I am going to explain now. You know, 3 power 4 is 81. Okay, and we square it. When you square it, you get 3 power 8 to be 6,561. And this at this level itself, the 6,561 you can divide by 257, and you will get 136. Therefore, this division by 257 you can do it at every stage, and therefore keep your numbers rather small at every stage. I mean, you don't calculate 3 power 46 all the way and then try to divide by 257, and that will be too difficult because the 3 power 46 is a very huge number. But on the other hand, you can do this division by 257 at that stage and make the numbers rather small. Okay, then you have got 3 power 8 is 136. Now you have to square it, 3 power 16, which is 136 whole square, which I have not written. And that 136 whole square is not such a big number that you can calculate, divide by 257 and look at the remainder, that gives you 249. And then again square it, 3 power 32, which gives you 249 square. Compute what is 249 square, divided by 257 and compute the residue, compute the remainder, and that remainder happens to be 64. Therefore, I have not calculated 3 square, 3 cube, 3 power 4, 3 power 5, etc. I only calculated 3 power 4, 3 power 8, 3 power 16, and 3 power 32. But what I am interested in 3 power 46. 3 power 46, as you can clearly see, can be written as 3 power 32 into 3 power 8 into 3 power 4 into 3 square. And 3 power 32 I have calculated, 3 power 8 I have calculated, 3 power 4 I have calculated, 3 square is 9. Now I can multiply these 4 numbers and divide by 257 and I will get 143. Okay. And this idea will work everywhere. In other words, what I have essentially done is I have not computed all the powers. I have computed 3 power, only those powers which are powers of 2. Therefore, I have only computed 3 power, those powers which are powers of 2, which means 4, 8, 16, 32, etc., etc. And then given any other number, I can always write the other number 46 as a sum of elements of the set 32 plus 16 plus 8 plus 4, etc. Every element can be written as sum of powers of 2. And it is what is precisely what is called, which you have learned in your high school, this is what is called writing an integer in binary. Therefore, to say that 46 you are writing in binary is precisely means you are writing 46 as 32 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2. And therefore, it is sufficient to only look at the powers of 3, which are already by themselves are powers of 2, and then multiplying them appropriately, you will get 3 power 46, which is 143. And that is exactly what Alice sends to Bob. Okay. Therefore, she keeps the 46 with herself and she sends a 143 to Bob. Is this a one-way function? That's the question which you want to know. Therefore, suppose Oscar is able to see that 143 goes there, and therefore he knows that 3 power a is 143, a is Alice's number. Is there some way he can compute what that a is? Because if he can compute what that a is, then he has no problem, because Bob has sent g power b and he has already got the g power b, he has eavesdropped, he has tapped that g power b, and if he knows a, then he can also compute the same key g power b raised to the power a, which is the same way which Alice and Bob were doing. Therefore, is there some way, given the fact that 3 power a is equal to 143, is there some way Oscar can get a equal to 46? If it's a problem in real analysis, suppose you are given 3 power a is equal to 143, and what is the value of a in real analysis, that problem is probably one of the easiest problem. And in fact, you will immediately write a is equal to the logarithm of 143 to the base 3, which is the same as log 143 divided by log 3, which is the same as 4.5173. And then you will immediately say a equal to 4.5173. But that's not the a in which we are interested. We want to get 46. Therefore, we want this logarithm of 143 to the base 3, not in the real numbers, but in the group z over 257 z star. In that group, what is logarithm of 143 to the base 3? Okay. This what is called a discrete log problem, because this is not a real analysis log problem. In real analysis, this is easy. Logarithm of 143 to the base 3 is something which is, you go to the Clefts table and you can easily compute it, which happens to be 4.5173. But that's not what you are interested. You are interested what is logarithm of 143 to the base 3 in the group G, which is z over 257z, star. Okay, this problem is called the discrete problem. Discrete logarithm problem is not so easy because unlike the usual logarithm, you can check that this discrete logarithm is neither continuous. If I take a logarithm of 143 to the base 3 and the logarithm of 144 to the base 3, they will not be close to each other. Okay, that is what continuity means. That if you take the value at two nearby points, the value of the function should be nearby. Therefore, if I, for example, if I take log 143 to the base 3 and log 144 to the base 3, in the discrete logarithm case, the numbers will not be equal, which means that this logarithm is not continuous. And this logarithm is not monotonic also. First of all, if it is not even clear to me whether log 143 will be less than log 144. There are many times log 143 will be actually bigger than log 144. And therefore, you have a logarithm which does not possess nice properties of the logarithm of the real analysis, which means the only way you can do that is brute search, which means that you have to check whether 3 power 1 is 143, 3 power 2 is 143, 3 power 3 is 143, 3 power 4 is 143. You have to do the brute search, and that is the only way you can get A. And if the brute search is the only way that you can get A, that means if you now take not A equal to 257, but on the other hand, a prime, which is something like a 10 power 10, as I was explaining, and if you have to do a brute search, then you will not be able to do it at all. And therefore, this is really a one-way problem, one-way function. And this way, you can actually do a key exchange. And this key, after the key exchange, it's very easy. You can use that key to send a message by probably even symmetry. That's different. Good. Therefore, what is it we have done so far? We have done that you are given a prime, then there is a group Z over P Z star, and then you can use this group Z over P Z star to do some key exchange, and that key exchange is rather safe. And then therefore you are in a position to frequently change the keys, and consequently, even if you are using a strong crypto system, not necessarily a very strong crypto system, still you are safe because you are changing the key. But you know, Z over P Z star may have some sort of problem. I mean, there may be some weak primes where it may be probably broken and so on and so forth. The question which I want to like to know is, are there other cyclic groups other than Z over P Z star? Okay, with which I can associate my P. I have my prime P, and are there other cyclic groups with which I can do that? And that is where the elliptic curves comes. And the elliptic curves is not the same as ellipses. Ellipses are the curves which look like x square by a square plus y square by b square equal to 1. But the elliptic curves will look like y square plus a1 times xy plus a3 is equal to x cubed plus a2 x square plus a4x plus a6. Therefore, this is a curve which looks like that. Y square plus a1 xy plus a3 equal to x cubed plus a2 x square plus a4x plus a6. And that is what is called an elliptic curve. And I am now goofing a little simply because besides this curve, this equation, I have to say something called a special point, and I have to say something about what is called a non-singular, which I have not explained, but this is okay. Now, any such elliptic curve is defined over a field. And most of you would have known what a field is. You would have read in the algebra course what a field is. And then every field has a characteristic, which is also something which you would have learned. And the character, suppose you have the field K, which is not characteristic 2 and which is not characteristic 3. Therefore, you have a field which is not characteristic 2 and not characteristic 3. In that case, you can make some change of variables in the original equation. I started with an equation which is y square plus a1 xy plus a3 equal to x cubed plus a2 x square plus a4x plus a6. I can make some change of variables, and this change of variables will make it in a very simpler form, y square equal to x cubed plus ax plus b. Therefore, that is the time. Therefore, from now onwards, I will assume that my characteristic is different from 2 and 3, and I will assume that my elliptic curve is something y square equal to x cubed plus ax plus b. In this case, The special point is infinity, infinity. And the non-singularity which I was defining means 4a cubed plus 27b square should not be equal to 0. Okay. And how will this curve look like? Actually, for number theories and algebraic geometers, you want to have the field K to be complex numbers. And for cryptological purposes, you want the field K to be the finite field over P elements. Okay. But neither over the finite field over FP nor on complex variables C, it is easy to draw a graph. A graph can be drawn only in R, and in elliptic curves over R are not such a interesting objects to study. But even then, in order to draw a graph, I will always assume that I am on R, because in R is the only one that I can draw. And in this cubic equation, which we see, x cubed plus ax plus b, the cubic equation x cubed plus ax plus b, in this cubic equation has 3 real roots, then the curve will look like that. I mean, there will be 2 disjoint parts. One part will be closed and the other part will go to infinity. And if the curve has only 1 real root, then there will be no 2 disjoint parts, only 1 part, and that part will go to infinity. What do you do with this curve? Well, first of all, what is the question I asked? The question which I asked is, given such a prime number, then is it somewhere I can associate some cyclic groups with the prime numbers? And if so, then I can do the discrete log problem there, I can do the key exchange there, I can do various things there. And the interesting part is that the points of this elliptic curve form an additive group. That is, given any 2 points, there is a way of adding the 2 points and getting a third point. Therefore, that's precisely the binary operation in a group. The binary operation in a group means that you have to take 2 points and then add and get a third point. And then, of course, if you want it to be a group, then it has to be associative. There has to be an identity, there has to be an inverse, and so on and so forth. Okay? And this way of adding the 2 elements and getting a third point, that is called the tangent chord process. Therefore, let me explain what is this tangent chord process for an elliptic curve, which allows you to add the 2 points. Okay. First of all, I have to define the identity of the group. And you see, the group has, the curve goes up to infinity, as you can see. You know, it doesn't stop. Of course, in the first curve, of course, there is a bounded part, but there's another part which goes to infinity. The second part, it goes to infinity. And therefore, the point infinity, infinity also lies on the curve, because infinity, infinity satisfies the equation y square equal to x cubed plus ax plus b. And that point, infinity, infinity, is what I am going to take as the identity of the group operation. And if P is a point on the elliptic curve, okay, since I am looking at the, therefore I have defined the identity now. Since I am looking at it as an additive group, the inverse will be the negative, and the negative of minus of P equal to x comma minus y. You can check that if xy is on the curve, then x comma minus y is also in the curve, and that will serve as an identity of the things. And if P and P1 and P2 are 2 points with the x1 not equal to x2, therefore the x coordinates are not equal, then choose the line L joining P1 and P2. Then L meets the curve at a third point, and then Q, and then takes the inverse of that point, and that is the sum of the points P1 and P2. Let me explain. You have the 2 points P1 and P2, and I want to see how to add the 2 points P1 and P2. I take the line joining P1 and P2, and it meets the curve with the third point Q, and I take the negative of the Q, and we have already seen if xy is the point, its negative is x comma minus y. And given x and y, x comma y, how do you get the point x comma minus y? You reflect on the x-axis. If you take a point xy and reflect on the x-axis, you get x comma minus y. And that's exactly how the P3 comes. And then you define your P1 and P2, the sum of P1 and P2 to be P1 plus P2 equal to P3. Okay, and can be written as a formula. I mean, because every time I have to add 2 points, x1, y1 and x2, y2, and I cannot be just drawing the line and inverting, etc. Is there some way I can write a formula, which is what I am going to do now. This means, suppose you are given the 2 points, P1, which is x1, y1, and x2, y2. And suppose x1 is not equal to x2, which I have assumed. And then this m, define it to be y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. And any of you remember your analytic geometry would realize that this m is precisely the slope of the line joining P1 and P2. Therefore, that is the slope. And you define x3 to be m square minus x1 minus x2, and y3 to be mx1 minus mx3 minus y1. Then x1, y1 plus x2, y2 will be this x3, y3 given by that. Which means that in some sense, I have written an explicit formula of how to add x1, y1 and x2, y2. And suppose x1 happens to be x2. If x1 happens to be x2, remember, y square equal to x cube plus ax plus b. And therefore, if x1 equal to x2, y has only 2 values, y are minus 1. And suppose this y1 happens to be y2 and not equal to 0, then the same argument, that is the same point, which is the P1 is the same as P2, and therefore you take a P1 and a P2 which is the same as P1, and then you want to add P1 and P2. And since P1 equal to P2, there is no question of early called P1, P2. And therefore what you do is essentially you take the tangent at P1. And again, your calculus class, you would have seen, given any equation like y square equal to x cube plus ax plus b, and if you take a point x1, y1, and if you want to draw the tangent and the slope of the tangent, how to find out, etc. And if you recall all those things, then the m will happen to be 3x1 square plus a divided by 2 here. And on the other hand, if x1 equal to x2 and y1 equal to minus y2, that means the point P1 and P2 are inverses of each other. Because remember, the inverse of the point xy is x minus y. Therefore, since P1 and P2 are the inverses of each other, therefore when you add, you will get identity. That's exact. And now what do we do? Now, from now onwards, let's look at the field to be a FP, which is a finite field with the P elements. And I'm assuming that all of you are familiar with what is a finite field with the P elements, and that is the field which is, and E is defined over K. E is defined in the finite field over K, which means that the coefficients A and B of the curve actually belong to FP. And that means, in other words, the elliptic of E means the set of all points xy. The elliptic curve is a set of all points xy, where x belongs to FP and y belongs to the field FP, and which where x and y satisfy the equation y square equal to x cube plus ax plus b. And if for any field extension K, the K rational points of E by definition is xy, where x belongs to the field, y belongs to the field, and y square equal to x cube plus ax plus b. Okay. Therefore, now, given any prime P and given any A and B, which are in the field FP, given any prime P and given any A and B, which are in the field FP, and subject to the condition that 4a cubed plus 27b square is not equal to 0, I have got an elliptic curve, and this elliptic curve is associated to P. And since A and B, capital A and capital B can vary, therefore I have around P square such elliptic curves for every P. Therefore, given any point P, I take some A in FP, some B in FP, look at the curve y square equal to x cube plus ax plus b, and that gives me an elliptic curve. I can vary A over FP, I can vary B over FP. That gives you P square as such elliptic curves. Therefore, given a prime, that I have a lot of elliptic curves. The only thing which I want to know is how many cyclic groups are there. Okay. Now, first of all, what is the order of the group? The order of the group is, okay, since I don't have much time, because you see, very roughly speaking, okay, let me just say, suppose in FP star, which is in the group of multiplicative group, non-zero elements of FP, which form a multiplicative group, and in that particular group, half of them are squares and half of them are non-squares. I think this is something which most of you probably might not have seen, because this is number theory, and I don't know whether this amount of number theory is being taught in the colleges. And therefore, in other words, suppose I take an element in FP star, and the probability that just the element is a square is really half. Now let us assume the same thing extend. If I take an element in FP, the probability that x cubed plus ax plus b is a square, let us assume that the probability is half. And for each such x, there will be two values of y, because y square equal to x cubed plus ax plus b. And therefore, half the value of x will work, which is around p by 2 values of x will work. And for each one of those p by 2 values, there will be two values of y. Therefore, totally you would expect p points. And that is in fact true. And that is known as what is called a Hasse-Weil theorem. That the number of points of the elliptic curve is p plus 1 minus a for some a, which is less than or equal to 2 times square root of p. And therefore, since a is very small, therefore, for all practical purposes, you have an elliptic curve. The curve has around p points. Therefore, it's a huge curve. If you take again p to be something like a 20-digit number, then the group has around 20-digit number, because it is only differs from p by only an element a, and a is 2 times square root of p. Okay, therefore, I know that's a group. I know that it's a big group, but how does that group look like? Okay. The groups look like it's an abelian group. And again, most of you would have studied that an abelian group can be written as a direct sum of cyclic groups. And this EO or FP can be written as a direct sum of two cyclic groups. Therefore, 3, 4, 5, etc. will not come. Only two cyclic groups, where B divides A and B divides P minus 1, which means usually B is very small. Therefore, the Z over PZ will be some 4, 5, 6, something like that. Which means that Z over A Z part is already as big as P, or P over 5, P over 6. And that is a cyclic group. And therefore, the elliptic curve has a very big cyclic component. And you can use your DLP there. And that DLP, the discrete log problem, is called an elliptic curve discrete log problem. And I have a lot more to say, but on the other hand, I think I have already exceeded my time, and then I will stop here.
Any questions? Any questions from the participants?
I don't see any. Oh.
No more questions, sir.
Yeah, yeah, I don't
No
see
question.
anything in the chat box. Yeah, but for most of them, it would be slightly above the things, and yeah, okay.
On behalf of PG and Research Department of Mathematics, Dwarakadas Govardhan Das Vaishnav College, I feel honored in delivering the vote of thanks for this session. I extend my gratitude to our speaker, Dr. Balasubramani Ramachandran, retired professor, former head, the Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Chennai, for enlightening us with his knowledge. Sir, your lecture was interesting and full of knowledge. I'm sure that the knowledge you shared will definitely help us. I thank you once again, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. I think I will leave now. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We'll meet tomorrow at 9:30 a.m.